Welcome to the Lost Lowdown podcast 135 with your hosts Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
We are back continuing our season 3 commentary series with episode 305, The Cost of Living.
Hell yeah!
And we're back for the 10th anniversary of Lost.
Woo!
September 22nd, the day everything changed.
All of our lives were altered forever, even though we didn't start watching it for like 2 years after that.
Shush! Don't give away all our secrets.
No, but it was a big deal, definitely.
Yeah.
Really highly rated. It was a hit instantly. Of course, that's why I didn't hear about it.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. It was so big, no one knew about it.
I didn't, they didn't have Twitter back then. I feel like that's why.
Yeah, you would have got the tweet.
Yeah, exactly. Someone would have been like, yeah, hashtag you have to watch Lost. And I would have listened, but no one did that because it wasn't possible.
It didn't happen.
And yeah, so it took a long time for me to care.
Yeah, it's
Um,
pretty amazing. It's been 10 years since the show's premiered. What, 4 years now since it's been off?
yep, yep.
Wow.
Four plus. I mean, it was May.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they're
this
getting up there.
this marks 8 years of Lost Lowdown,
Yep.
which is just as or even more crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty soon it'll be, yeah. I mean, we've already podcasted longer than the show was on the air,
Yep.
which is pretty crazy. And
Totally
more
crazy.
hours total than the show broadcast.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
far more, far more.
yeah,
Show's not that long.
not that long.
Try listening to the whole podcast.
Yeah. So I was just telling you off podcast. I'll share with the listeners. I just did the tally of the total number of hours we've podcasted about Lost over these past 8 years. From episode 1 to episode 132, 558 hours, 47 minutes, 30 seconds.
Woo!
I'm exhausted just hearing that.
That
I
is a
mean, can you
lot.
imagine what we could have accomplished with that time? Think of the new things we could have learned, the new skills, like, oh man,
So
just so
much.
much wasted potential.
Yeah, yeah, when you put a number on it, it really gets real.
Yeah,
It's like, oh shit, like you can really quantify it. You can literally imagine like certain things that you could have done
yeah,
in that time.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
it's
because
like,
beginning, you don't start out and say, 8 years ago, hey, do you want to podcast about this show for
mhm.
558 hours?
Yeah, no one said that because like, yeah, it would have been like,
No, you
probably not.
get out of here. Yeah, doing the math, 558 hours is 23 days
Wow.
continuous.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
That is completely insane.
it's ridiculous. It's there's no excuse.
There really isn't. I can't think of any excuses.
I want to place the blame squarely on Carlton and Damon and JJ for starting this train that will not end.
Me too.
Yeah.
It is totally their fault. Um, yeah, I mean they really and it's funny, I've been because it's the 10th anniversary, there's a lot of little articles out there right now.
Yep.
And so I've been like looking at those and I was reminded of the fact that like the backstory of Lost is kind of crazy.
Mhm.
Um, because it all started like the original thing didn't come from J.J. Abrams, didn't come from Damon Lindelof. It came from this guy, uh, Lloyd Braun, who was the like a big executive at ABC,
Mhm.
and apparently he saw the movie Castaway, and he thought like, oh, it'd be cool to do like Castaway the series,
Yeah.
where we have like, or like Survivor but scripted, you
Hmm.
know, where we just have like characters like trapped on an island and they have to like survive, you know, and like that was the bare bones of what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And he spent some time like trying to develop it, and like Aaron Spelling got involved.
Oh wow.
um and then there was, like, you see in the credits, like this guy Jeffrey Lieber, like he wrote
Okay.
um
Yeah.
the sort of original version of the pilot, and it was just like, back then it was just like a basic, like, you know, island adventure story. Like it was just going to be they crash and they have to deal with like normal problems, and like that's it. It's just going to be like week to week we're going to deal with the latest island challenge. You
Yeah.
know, there was no, it wasn't supposed to be a mystery. It was just supposed to be a nice like fun show you could tune in any week, just watch, you know, watch your favorite characters just do whatever on the island.
Hmm.
And apparently, like, although he liked it and definitely had some power, no one else liked this idea for a show.
Yeah.
They thought like, this sounds bad, it's not going to work. But he really wanted to make it work, and so he called in J.J. Abrams and said like, J.J. Abrams, can you do something with this to make it work?
Yeah.
And JJ called Damon Lindelof, and the two of them got together and had spent some time, came up with like a 20-page outline for a pilot,
Hmm.
and that was the original like core of the show, and that was the thing that ABC greenlit.
Yeah, and it's
Just that.
interesting because from the telling of the history, Damon and of course a lot of people back then were big fans of Alias, which
Yep.
JJ had done before this, and Damon wanted to write on Alias.
Yep.
So when he came to JJ to talk about the ideas, he had a you know he knew the storytelling mechanics of Alias,
Right.
and which we of course see is really prevalent in Lost.
Very much
So it's
so.
really interesting that to have just to kind of have that intersection there.
Yeah, 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 big time. And I would say anyone who really likes Lost, like, you should check out Alias.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Alias, it's Lost with a mystery that gets answered, an action spy show with a long running mystery that does get solved. Not necessarily great, but they do tell you what's up to a degree, and it's overall pretty good. I mean, it's a lot of good. It's just a really fun show.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at times, like, I think it's spectacular.
Yeah,
Um, it's more I guess self-contained than Lost is. Like, it has more episodes that are just like heist of the week, you know.
yeah,
They break into some building, she's got to wear a wig, and
yeah.
like, you know, it's just kind of business. Like there's a fair number of those, and like if you watch it all at once, that can get a bit monotonous. But especially early on in the first season, and like at a certain point in every season, they break away from that, and this larger story that develops over time starts to happen, and that larger story has like a lot of really interesting beats, and I definitely think that Alias fails in very similar ways to Lost at times.
Mhm.
Not quite though, because you're right, they do give answers, and maybe that's the big difference. Their answers are just usually letdowns,
Mhm.
but it definitely has its moments. I mean, there's some of those plot lines that are just unforgettably ridiculous.
And there's a lot of prototype characters on Alias, prototypes for
Oh
Lost
yeah.
characters. I mean, Ben is there.
Yep.
You see a lot of the same kind of
Yep.
characters.
Yeah, if you watch it, you'll pick up immediately who the Ben is.
Yeah,
It's really obvious.
he will lie and lie and lie, and when he's
And
done lying, he'll keep lying.
yeah, and I mean, yeah, just so much about him really parallels. And so yeah, they definitely had like, also just the storytelling style, like they definitely had that like surprise, like end the episode thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the story twists, like a lot of the ideas that got maybe a little more fleshed out in Lost or already there in Alias.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no question that was a big influence. But yeah, the funny thing is, we talked about that Lost Writers Guide. That was based on the fact that the network ABC, which had also aired Alias, were really specific when JJ got this project that like this can't be like Alias in the sense of the weird mythology.
Mm-hmm.
They really were like, no Rambaldi. None of that. But and you see that in the writer's guide. You see they're really explicitly like,
Yeah.
it's not going to be like that. We promise. We
Promise,
swear.
guys. Pinky
It's not going to
swear.
be like that. And of course the funny thing is it's even more serialized than Alias was.
Yeah.
And the mythology is even bigger.
Longer. Yeah, I mean, Lost I think is a mystery show first, whereas Alias is
Yeah.
is a spy action show first.
Yeah, exactly. With mystery on the side.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
little helping of mystery on the side.
Yeah.
Eat
But
your
that
mystery.
So yeah, I think that definitely played a part, and it was a big chance for Damon Lindelof, and basically JJ was gonna go do Mission Impossible 3, I guess, and so I think that's what it was, and so he wasn't gonna stay on Lost, and so he left it to Damon, and apparently Damon was like, I've never run a show before. I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when Carlton came in.
Yeah, he and Carlton had worked together on what was it? The
Nash Bridges.
Nash Bridges of all shows.
Yeah, who would have thought the writers of Nash Bridges would?
Yeah, they didn't promote it like this season of ABC from the writers of Nash Bridges Lost.
Yeah, and
the marketing department didn't go that route.
Damon had done also Crossing Jordan.
Yep.
And Carlton worked on that weird series, the Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.,
which I did love as a kid.
Yeah. That's like kind of a quirky, like pseudo Western sci-fi series that like where I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
In terms of somebody who would do Lost, but definitely like those other series, they're just, I mean, I guess if you want to be a TV writer, you take a job, and if it's a job on a major series, even if you're like, well, this isn't my favorite show of all time or the kind of show that I really want to write, you still go do it,
Yeah.
And that gives you, I mean, and that collaboration led to Lost, like directly, because he knew him and he was like, can you like tell me how to run a show?
And I think it helped to have two brains behind it, and I think that helped make the show schizophrenic, but it balanced it out between really, really great stuff and mediocre stuff here and there, and I think that was an interesting dynamic to have.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like having two minds definitely creates a different dynamic than like the single dictator.
Yeah.
It can definitely make it less coherent. But on the other hand, there's kind of more variety, and it's like whatever's wrong with one writer does not kind of infect the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like on Twin Peaks, like David Lynch had that with Mark Frost, like it balanced the thing out, like left to his own devices, sometimes you can get stuff like Inland Empire, and it's nice to have someone there who knows how to just do like basic stuff, like write a normal episode of television.
Yeah.
And then he could throw in like the other stuff on top of that.
Because it can't all be crazy, or if it's all crazy, then nothing's crazy.
Exactly. And so I feel like like JJ initially, and then like Damon was more of the like crazy weird ideas, and I think Carlton was more the experienced, like, let's give this thing some kind of structure,
Yeah.
and like map it out and make it work, And so I think that partnership definitely was a big part of the show. And I mean, they were the face of the show. I think that whole idea of like showrunners as public, figures for the show
Yeah,
was
they
really
definitely
a
are
new thing.
credited. They're definitely credited, because Lost being a big hit, because of how the show started, because of JJ being really well known too, and social media taking off. It's just this weird nexus of all these things happening that definitely, and because the show, because of being a mystery show, demanded, a popular mystery show, people were demanding answers and feedback from the creators, which prompted Carlton Damon to have to come to the forefront, and they're definitely sort of credited as making showrunners a household name, and really, again, back to the nexus of this whole era was showrunners being, the sort of golden age of television, right? The second golden age of television coming
Yeah.
back, where you do have these sort of Artur style showrunners who have this very specific vision, and they make these very specific TV shows that are, critically acclaimed. So I think that kind of helped too, of like, okay, well, let's see who's the brains behind this thing, because it actually matters.
Right.
They're not
Right.
just pushing, they're not just writing scripts and pushing the production along.
Yeah.
So now people actually are interested in who the showrunners on TV shows are.
Yeah, I remember being really struck, like watching a panel with them and with some of the actors. I think they had Matthew Fox there, and they had, like, some of the main actors on the show,
Yeah.
and they were taking questions from the audience. And I remember, like, they started making jokes, like everyone only wanted to ask Damon and Carlton questions,
Wow.
and it was just like, wow, no one really, they're way more interested in what they have to say.
Yeah.
About the show than they are the actors. And it's just strange because I've seen a lot of panels like that where it's very much the opposite.
Yeah, for sure.
The actors are the stars, they're the face you see on screen, and like generally the public, I mean, there's a lot of movies you go see it because the actors in
It's
it.
pretty much the history of film and television that writers are at the bottom of the totem pole and are not really well known. They're not. You don't go to see a movie because of who wrote it. You go to see of who directed it or who's in it.
Right. Right.
And that definitely started to change, especially in the television world around that time.
Yeah, and I feel like in the public, just the general public consciousness, like for movies, it's actors, then directors, and then writers are like who knows where, down on that list. But yeah, for TV shows, directors aren't really very important, and it's really about the writers, specifically the head ones, the ones that are in charge.
Yeah.
Because they're really ultimately who decides the direction of the story, even if they don't write every single line.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that was a big shift, and I pay attention to that stuff now, and on a show like Dexter, where it was a fucking disaster. See our Mr. Podcast about that.
Yeah.
They changed showrunner several times, from beginning to end, and you can tell there's just not a really good coherent plan for that show. There isn't a voice there, kind of making the whole thing work. Like it's just passing from one team to the next, and it never really, it never really goes anywhere good.
Yeah.
I like to know, I mean, even if it's going to be shitty, I like to know at least like it's something that was intended by the original creators, and once they're long gone, True Blood had the same thing, once they're long gone, it's sort of like, it's not really the same show anymore. It's someone else. It kind of becomes a weird version of fan fiction.
It's like Community had that same thing too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like what if some like fans got the actual actors to produce their scripts, but it's like kind of interesting, but it's not really. It doesn't really feel like it's the same show.
Yeah.
And I feel like the shows that where I've liked them more over the course of the series, they've always had like a consistent showrunner from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, it
You
helps.
know, I think it makes a big difference, and it's a sign of trouble when they leave.
Yeah.
I I'm very wary of that now.
Well,
Um,
it's been pretty amazing that it's been 10 years.
yeah, yeah. It's incredible. I mean, definitely back in 2004, I didn't really take television seriously back then.
Yeah.
I
Well, it
mean,
was so brand new.
in it was just invented.
Just invented, yeah.
Yeah, I consider television like the slums, you know. It was like it was where you go when you fail as a movie person, you know.
It did that's been, I think, the biggest difference in TV besides the quality is television used to be, oh, you can't get movies anymore, so you'll go act in
Mhm.
TV. And now it's like,
Yep.
well, there's a lot of actors who are finding their second renaissance in their careers and
Yeah,
finding new audiences and doing some of their best stuff on TV, even
absolutely.
better than their movies.
I mean, I think personally for actors, like for showing like what they can do, there really isn't anything better
No.
because it gives them the opportunity to play a character over a huge period of time in such a huge variety of situations and scenes. I mean, you can't get that from a movie.
Yeah.
You know, just physically, it's not possible unless the movie is, you know, whatever, 100 hours long,
Hmm.
you know? And so just that opportunity makes it better. But I think what actors are able to do with it, you watch the same actor play a character for years. I mean, it has such a different impact. You know, you identify with those characters so much more than in a movie where you just sit there for a couple hours.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, it just doesn't, it just, they can't really play on the same field. So I definitely think like for really displaying what they can do, like it's better. And I just didn't really understand that, you
Hmm.
know, mainly I think because there at the time, like there hadn't been as many examples of really great TV shows where
Yeah.
you got to see this happen. You know, I and as particularly serialized TV shows. I mean, I think for me that's really the turning point. Like week to week TV shows, I think are limited. Like they're more limited than serialized ones because they kind of play like mini movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, usually episodic stuff. I mean, obviously sitcoms are episodic. They can have long running storylines, but especially in sitcoms, the whole idea is the characters are back to square one at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Nothing fundamentally is going to change what's going to happen because that's what we want, that familiarity tuning in week to week.
Right.
And we don't want to worry about continuity. We want to just be, we want,
Right.
especially the creators want continuity not really matter in syndication, so you can just watch an
Mhm.
episode and not be confused and just watch it. Doesn't really matter when it's taking place, in the context of the whole show. But
Right.
yeah, I think audiences got more savvy. They got rewarded. Like with The Sopranos being probably the first big great
Mhm.
TV show of that renaissance. You get rewarded by coming back, by sticking to the storyline, by developing the characters over many years. And
Yeah.
so people are like, oh, people will watch this if it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it really caught on, and I think, you know, it's kind of a phenomenon, like this whole idea of television shows as a collective event, you know, like it's really taken off.
Hmm.
And when these big TV shows that are on these days are on, like it really creates a lot of energy on um, particularly on the internet, you know, like, but also like in general in life, like people want to talk about these things. They make a part of their life every week, and it's just, I think, you know, movies just don't have that kind of commitment, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
and
movies are like, you go to see a movie. If you went with somebody, you talk about it afterwards for 5 minutes, and you're kind of
hmm
done.
yeah,
There's usually not much more to say after 5 minutes, unless
yeah,
you're
yeah,
arguing
yeah,
about some point or whatever. But
Typically, I mean, except for the rare movie that's like really incredible.
Yeah, and even if it's good and you like it, there's still not a lot to really discuss because it's done and it's over and you saw it and you might want to see
Yeah,
it again, but there's, what else is there really to say? But yeah,
yeah,
when you get people involved over years and years and years, um, you know, I mean, to me, Star Trek being my prime example of like I am in love with these people. Like I want to reach into the TV and grab them. Like
mhm,
I want to be in this world that's being created. And you see them grow over time and change over time, and that's like I was saying in the last podcast, that's the hero's journey. That's the fundamental um, reason we like stories. We like to see the change. We like to see growth. We like to see um, examples of what to do and what not to do in life. Played out in these various landscapes of versions of reality. Everything from a normal cop drama or medical show that's very down to earth and realistic to something like Game of Thrones or something more,
mhm,
Battlestar Galactica, sci-fi or fantasy. Like it's still telling the same kind of stories of life and death and morals and these themes of what should we do, how should we treat each other, what are the consequences if we do ABC
mhm.
uh, or NBC. No, I'm kidding. Um, not CBS.
Never CBS.
Never CBS. But yeah. So I mean, that's really what I think great TV shows tap into is that internal. I mean, it's in our human DNA to like stories, and to see characters change over time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think you know, aside from a novel, a really long novel, I mean, you just don't get it. Certainly, and as far as like things that are filmed,
Yeah.
the there really isn't anywhere where you can get that kind of depth.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate that. And that's the kind of thing that you can sit and talk about for 558 hours.
It is. It's literally that kind of thing.
No matter what, I mean, if I think of my favorite movies of all time, I mean, I think I'd be hard pressed to talk about them for this long.
Yeah. No, it'd be done. I can. Yeah. There's no. You can't do it.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous, but
Even
when it
even movies that are like 2001. I mean, you
mhm,
can talk about that for a while. At a
for a
certain point,
while,
you're done, and you've said what you could say about it. Um,
yeah, I mean that movie's I don't know 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours.
yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
220, I think.
it's that's I mean that's only what maybe 3 episodes worth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that impressive,
Hmm.
you
Take
know.
that, Stanley Kubrick. 2001 is not that impressive. You heard it here first, folks.
No, that's not what I mean.
That's
I'm
what you
just
said.
no, that's not what.
You said it should be a footnote in the annals of cinema.
Oh my God. Yeah. Now I feel like I want to take a stand and say that just because it's so
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, yes, that's right.
Also, Citizen Kane is blah.
Blah.
Yeah.
Nice try, guys.
Nice try. Yeah. Call me when it's in color.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, no, it's pretty incredible, and I think Lost does do this kind of TV thing the best, where you have a huge cast of characters, huge stakes, uh, realistic situations and impossible situations,
hmm
relatable situations and unrelatable situations. Um,
Yeah.
and you have the whole gamut of really every human emotion and idea at some point is pretty much captured on this show.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty special, thing. I always think about, when I think about the power of TV, I think about, Andy Whitfield, who was, the lead actor on Spartacus,
Mhm.
Blood and Sand, who passed away after the first year of that show. And I think that what's really spectacular is, even though his life and career was cut short, he got to emote every single human emotion there is on screen, captured for all eternity. His family and his kids will always be able to see him be alive and in motion and being human and emoting, which
Mhm.
is, it's just, that's not everybody gets that. Who gets
Yeah.
that? you know,
Yeah,
Most of us,
absolutely.
we're left with just the memories, which are great, of our loved ones and stuff and people we care about. But to actually get to see, to capture a full range of humanity, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally.
But yeah, so 10 years, 8 years of Lost Lowdown. Our
Wow.
next, hopefully, we've been talking about this on and off podcast. We really want to get JJ. I keep saying JJ. I'd like to get JJ, but
Yeah, I think we stand a better chance of
first
getting
let's
the
get
other.
Carlton and David.
Yeah, yeah, step 1.
Yeah, I was looking at this thing online. I saw his name JJ. But yeah, hopefully we can get Carlton and Damon on the podcast at some point and do our list of questions that they have not been asked before.
Yeah.
So at very not only interest to us and the listeners, but to them, hopefully it'll be a change of pace. Although I think about what we would ask them, and I really just as a joke, really, really, really just want to the first thing to be. So they were dead the whole time, right? Just to make the most obvious joke you can make, you know.
Right.
Like, listen,
Right.
we're not gonna ask you any question you've been asked before. Okay, so they're dead the whole time, and when did they all die together? Like,
They died in the plane crash,
yeah,
right?
plane crash. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. I was also reading this I was reading this interview with Damon and Carlton today that they posted they posted again for the 10th anniversary. It was actually a little bit ago, maybe a few months. And the interviewer asked them like, "Can you explain Naveen Andrews' like long fingernails?"
Oh yeah, I read that too. Uh huh.
And yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, he liked to play guitar, and so he would keep his fingernails long to like finger pick
Yeah.
the strings." Um, and Carlton was like, we've never been asked that before. Like, he said like it's really rare that anyone asks us a question about laws that we haven't
Mhm.
answered before.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like we can do that easily.
Yeah, I think it'd be so easy.
It's just that most people that interview them ask them the same stuff because it's like standard interview stuff.
Standard interview stuff and standard what audiences and fans and listeners want to hear, but
Yeah.
not to the degree that they've already gotten the answers. But I think that's what interviewers think they want to hear. But yeah, it's more just standard interview stuff. The most obvious surfacey questions you can ask.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I guess like for the average person, that's all they really want to read
Yeah.
or, look at. But yeah, I think we could definitely give them a unique interview.
Yeah. I definitely want to pitch them our ideas of how one should view the show or could view the show for optimal viewing and
Yeah.
mitigating angst and anger, and pitching them some theories
Hmm?
about how things could be tied together and see what they. I would love to see how they either answer or evade the questions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're so good about that.
Yeah.
Even to this day. It's amazing. It's amazing. I admire their commitment. I still feel like the day will come where they'll like let some things slip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the wound is still open.
Mhm.
They haven't quite. You can tell, and I think with Damon doing the leftovers and some of the conversations about Lost getting reignited by that show, um, you can tell that he's still he's still kind of he's still kind of feeling that that after effect,
Mm-hmm.
of um, of the ending of the series and the fan reaction
Yeah.
that, sort of haunts him with every project he ever does.
Oh, it's branded on his forehead.
But yeah, he also had an interview. Like someone got him on Skype on Huffington Post for about 15 minutes for the 10th anniversary, and it wasn't a bad interview. It was fairly interesting. It's like him in his office on Skype, and so it was kind of cool, kind of casual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, and he specifically said in that interview that this sort of idea that we have about um, you know, instead of sort of giving definitive, objective answers about things, he prefers to just show things, have characters, see them or interact with them, and draw their own conclusions while at the same time the viewer draws their own conclusions about what that means and how to interpret it.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you don't like that, you really just shouldn't watch stuff that I write because that's like the main thing I like to write.
Yeah.
you know? And I have never
Leftovers,
heard him.
Prometheus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And obviously Lost.
And
And
actually, a quick aside, yeah, I mean that is the central thing in Prometheus. That is I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but that is the thing they get wrong, is their interpretation of the signs that lead them to the engineers.
yep.
They think, oh, well, this little star chart's pointing to where they are. We should go and greet our makers, or greet the people
Hmm.
who we're related to, and they'll welcome. No, your interpretation was wrong. They do not care about you. In fact, they were planning to go destroy you all. And
Right.
so that idea is literally there of like misplaced meaning, misinterpretation, leading to downfall.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And not everyone likes that kind of storytelling, I guess. Or
Mhm.
maybe they do like it, but at the end somehow it makes them angry.
I think part of it is just the context. Again, it's not a typical way to write to tell a story,
Yeah,
unless you know that's what you're getting into.
right.
So you can go into the leftovers having seen Lost, and you go, okay, I know the kind of thing, I might get out of this, or if you are familiar with the book, okay, well, they're not necessarily going to be explaining or investigating the rapture or the sudden departure,
Right.
so don't invest in that because they're not going to do it. So part of,
Yeah.
my quote that I love about this is, every criticism is born of an unmet expectation. So
Mhm.
anytime you're upset or you criticize something or you're complaining about something, it's because you had an expectation, that was not met. So
Yeah.
people who don't like the ending of Lost is they had an expectation.
Mhm.
Part of it was what they brought to the table. Part of it is what the show brought to the table. And,
Mhm.
that's our running joke is the show is like, why did, yes, we made you think that. Why did you think that?
Mhm.
Like just because we led you to that direction doesn't mean
Yeah.
you should have thought that.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's still not our fault.
Yeah.
Like you're still to blame for your interpretation, even if you think we pushed you in that direction.
Yeah, it's like don't think of an elephant. You immediately think of an elephant.
Mhm.
What? I
Yeah.
told you not to think of an elephant.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Why are
that's what
you
it's
thinking of an
like.
elephant?
That's what it's like. And it is very strange because typically if they want you to think about something, it's because they want you to think about it
Hmm.
instead of as this weird like commentary on, subjectivity.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a really unique thing about about the Lost writing style, and something Damon Lindelof is obviously like really drawn to.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess I really appreciate it, even though like I do see why it's frustrating.
Hmm.
I think one of my main problems in season 6 was like I really and at a certain point I just made this decision, and this is something Damon would be like, well, good for you. I made this decision like I'm just gonna believe this,
Yeah.
you know, because I need to believe this for the story to work for me,
Hmm.
and he would probably say, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to do.
Yeah.
Believe what you want to believe. To like, make the story work for you. That's fine. But like I really was frustrated by characters saying things, and like then my doubt about like, but is it true? Did they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
say
That
that?
was our big kind of turning point towards the end of just realizing, a lot of this is hearsay, and I went and listened to our original Lost Lowdown podcast for further instructions.
Mhm.
And we were talking about, or maybe I listened to some of the pilot commentary too, but we were talking about Smokey.
Mhm.
And we were like, oh no, that's what it was. It was in further instructions, and you were doing your segment because we used to have this segment where you would talk about, either articles that came out about Lost, or you would review the official Lost podcast with Carlton and Damon, and
Oh.
you would talk about what they said, and one of the things they
Oh,
said
I
was,
forgot about that.
yeah, one of the
Okay.
things they said was, we'll this season we will see the Flame Station.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting. So then you go and I lost my train of thought. uh, I was
Flame
making
Station,
I was
and then
making a point about.
well, do you remember what I said, or you don't remember what
No, the
I?
point wasn't what you said. The point was that we would see the Flame Station and our reaction. Oh no, that's what my point was. How we would take things at face value and use that for theories. So basically, like with Smokey, I would, the thing about hearsay was my point.
Mhm.
What we should believe, that just because a character says it doesn't mean it's true. And so I was making this point in the podcast because I had this theory for literally like 2 minutes that we were like, well, what is a flame station? And I was like, oh, I think it's where the controls for Smokey is. And you were like,
Ah.
really? And then you basically convinced me otherwise, because I ended up saying something like, yeah, well, I don't think Dharma could have created Smokey because it's either A, really high tech and more advanced than them, or B, it's really mystical, which was the
Yeah.
answer was B.
Yeah.
Um, and,
At
and then
least
you,
one of them was right.
yeah, I know. And then you're like, oh, but if they couldn't have created it, you think they can control it? And I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe that doesn't make sense. Um, but it's that. But anyway, my point about Smokey was, I was saying, well, I was rationalizing what Smokey is and why they could control or whatever. And the point was, I'm like, well, Rousseau says it's a security system. So it was
Mhm.
that kind of thing. It's a roundabout way to
Yeah.
get to this point of saying, oh, just because she said it's a security system doesn't mean she's right.
Right.
And it took us a
Because
long time to get to the realization that, yeah, they're playing telephone. Like
yeah.
one character is seeing something, they tell another character, that second character tells the third character never saw the original thing.
Yep.
Dogen. Dogen is going
Mhm.
off
Yep.
what Richard tells him, and Richard
Right.
saw, and so it's really
Yeah.
that we saw that idea play out,
Richard got it from Men in
scene
Black.
after scene after scene after scene. And we did, it started to creep in our minds. Something's wrong. Something's weird about this. Isn't normal TV storytelling, or
Yeah.
really normal storytelling in general, where a character says something and you can take it at face value.
Right.
It's like, no, the whole point is everybody's saying something different, and that's the point.
Right.
And it's it's
Right.
it's not an obvious thing to grasp unless you podcast for a couple hundred hours.
Yeah, yeah, totally. The Russo thing is a great example because what they revealed in season 5 when they were time traveling is that she got the idea that this smoke monster was a security system from Robert.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
Yep.
that's what he tells her.
That's what he tells us.
She's like, that monster, it changed you, and he's like, it's not a monster, it's a security system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and why did he say that? We don't really know because we didn't get to see, but like either Smokey Monton told him, or that was just his interpretation.
Yeah.
Like we don't really know why he said that, but the point is the origin of it was not someone who really knew.
Yeah.
you know and so like she's just repeating this thing, and who knows why she even believes it,
Yeah.
because she shoots him afterwards.
And it goes back to our little example of this whole idea of interpretation with using the numbers, right? Like if you tell the story of the numbers in chronological order, through no period of time will you ever think the numbers are mystical. You will always see
Hmm.
people who misinterpret it. You'll see Hurley use the numbers and think, and something a coincidence happens. He gets some bad luck and he thinks, oh, well, the numbers are cursed.
Right.
But if you watch in chronological order, you'll have a different interpretation, and it's the same. We get that really in the most obvious sense with Across the Sea, with Mother being the original information giver of the
Hmm.
show.
Yeah.
Giving the basic information of what the island is, what what the source is, and all that stuff. And obviously by that point we were realizing you can't trust people say, but I mean that's
Right.
really telling the audience that listen, somebody told Mother what she's telling them. Who knows if
Yeah.
that person was right?
Yep. And I know that that's what they want. I mean, the savvy viewer is going to realize that. I think at the time I was really frustrated by that because it was like, this is our ultimate answer episode. I want my fucking answers.
Yeah.
I don't want like hearsay and conjecture and like my complete inability to know what's what in terms of what she's saying. Like,
Hmm.
how much of it is actually true, how much of it is stuff she's just making up. Even if she's making it up, maybe it's still true. I don't know anything, and
Yeah.
I feel very lost in terms of these basic mysteries of the show.
Which
What
is
is
which
the
is the point
island?
which is the point of the show, right? I mean, that's what
Yeah,
I think that is really what
totally.
is ironic is the show is called Lost. It's telling you what you'll be watching the show.
Yep.
It's telling you that all these people will be that. It's telling
Yep.
you they won't ever find the answers because anyone that will give them an answer got that from somebody else,
Yep.
interpreted a situation from somebody else, or interpreted their way and told somebody else. So it's
Yeah.
really it's not an obvious thing, and it's like a magic eye. It's not obvious until it's obvious.
Yeah.
Because it's so unusual. You don't watch Star Trek or Alias or The Sopranos or any other 99.9% of TV shows. You see something, a character says something, it's true.
Yeah.
Until it's, unless it's just part of the plot that it's a ruse or a con or a lie and we'll get the truth later, but that's not going to be an ongoing thread yeah, guys, here's another example of this is your interpretation. How you should interpret things is up to you. What the meaning you place on it is up to you.
Yep.
There is no path lock for you to walk on. There's only the con Man in Black is pulling on you, and there's only your will to be duped into this. There's only all that stuff, which is an insane proposition for a TV show.
Yeah.
But for a mystery show, it's almost exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Because it means that the mystery is the ultimate mystery, which is again what they said recently. We talked about before. There are two big questions that they answer, or that the show tries to answer, which are the two questions no one ever asked on the show. Uh,
And why would they?
why would they? What's the meaning of life, and what happens after you die?
Yeah.
Which are the ultimate mysteries.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a really ambitious thing to do.
Yeah, it's insane.
Uh,
Can you
it's
imagine if that's how they pitched it to the ABC? Like, yeah, no, it's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, we'll have Survivor style stuff going on, but it's really about
Mhm.
the meaning of life and what happens after you die.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're so not that's rejected. Thank you.
Next,
Yeah, come back when you have something people want to watch.
yeah, come back when you have a TV show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's totally crazy. But it is another thing that I really appreciate about Lost. Both in big ways addressing things like that, and also in small ways with like the way they took risks in terms of changing up the show, the format,
Hmm.
um, the way the story went. I mean, I still think uh, I think given the audience they had and the fact that they were on a network, I still think it's pretty cool. Like the number of like very um, risky story moves that they made.
Yeah, you're talking about season 5, aren't you?
Yeah, for example,
For
for
example.
example. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, season 5 was definitely a huge version of that. But I also feel like it was a huge The Flash Sideways was a huge risk.
Yep.
You know? And you might say the risk failed, and maybe it did. But
Yeah.
I'm still kind of impressed that they were willing to bet like a whole huge part of the season on that idea.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of you're gonna watch this for, 17 hours or so before we tell you what it is, and we're
Mhm.
just going to expect you to be invested in this nebulous thing that we're not going to explain for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that was a huge risk to take, a lot to ask of the audience.
Yeah.
Like, watch these characters in this strange world that you don't know what it is.
And they're
You
not the characters that you've been watching the whole time.
Right.
They're in this
Exactly.
other thing. They're doing these other things they haven't done before. Um, and you're spending the rest of the time trying to figure out how this relates to what we've been watching the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I think people had a hard time investing because they didn't really understand like how this ties in with the people they care about,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that was the danger in that move. It's like losing the audience and just having them not care,
Mhm.
you know. But I think when you look back on it, it's I don't know, it's kind of an impressive, crazy thing that they tried. We're
Yeah.
going to do a whole portion of the season that takes place in the afterlife of the character. It's like, what? Like that's just that idea sounds like there's no way it could work,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
And it's
but
not, and again, it's not, it's in this afterlife that's a creation of reality,
mhm,
our version of reality that's different than what we've seen. Because I was just thinking, it might have been an interesting way to go if they have the Flash Sideways, but the Flash Sideways takes place as in a reality where everything's the same except they didn't get on the plane, they never met.
right.
You know what I mean? Where it's not like Jack has a son because he didn't have a son
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
So it's not this idealized place where they can work out some of their problems. It's just literally this is a reality where they never met. Their lives they're still so they're broken, obviously, and now they need to find each other and quote on sort of metaphorically get on the plane and
Right.
and rejoin to go back to the so they could have gone that route where
Yeah.
it would have been more relatable because we could have understood. Okay, well, Jack's at the hospital. He's a doctor. He's divorced from
Mhm.
Sarah. He comes back from bringing Christian from Australia. He has the funeral and he goes on with his life, but he's more miserable. He goes back to drinking or whatever. Like,
Right.
he's more miserable, and the whole thing is about here are these people in the exact same situation as if they didn't ever crash on the plane,
Yeah.
and start the story from there, and then ended with they needing to wake up and realize that they had this other life and stuff. But instead, they give us this fantasy world that they live in that's a bit removed from the reality that we had been watching the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely ambitious. I think failing big is better than failing small. So they, if it's a
Yeah.
fail, it's a big one.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, I would rather them try things. And I think there are aspects of the Flash Sideways at work. And and I think also if they just made a few tweaks, some of which have been suggested on this podcast by
Mhm.
such hosts as Claude from the Lost Lowdown.
I know that guy. He's
Um,
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, very insightful. I would say that they could really make the Flash Sideways totally work for me.
Yeah.
The thing that was missing for me is the main thing. was tying in the islands.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, I think that's a bit of a misstep. I'll try to see if I remember. I'll remember to try to see what I think when we get back to season 6. But
Yeah,
I really think showing the island underwater, it was a red herring, obviously.
yeah,
I mean, it was a red herring in a way, but it was also they were trying to telegraph to us what's going, like sort of metaphorically, the island
yeah,
doesn't exist or something. But I really wish there was a different way to show that because I think that really threw people off and what we were supposed to be watching. I
definitely.
almost think we just should have not seen the island at all. You know,
Mhm.
just don't show it,
Yeah.
and we'll know it doesn't have any connection.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird, definitely. I mean, the thing is, they played up. They're doing some misdirection with that. I mean, it's kind of like the incident where they even up until the last episode, like Locke's, Man in Black's talking about how, uh, he's gonna go take Desmond and find the light cave, and he's gonna like pull the plug thing, and then the island's gonna sink into the
Yeah,
ocean,
yeah.
and they really get us to think that, oh, maybe like when the island sinks, like that's what we're seeing in the Flash Sideways. Like
Hmm.
I think they teased that something like that might be coming, even up until the last minute. And then you realize, no, it was just purely metaphorical. I think another really strange moment is the scene with Ben and his father when Ben's dad like talks about when he talks about the island. He's like, "Yeah, remember when like I was in the Dharma Initiative and we went to the island? Like those guys are cool,
Hmm.
you know?" And it's just like, "What?" Like it was just really strange. Like the point was supposed to be, I guess, the contrast because like he just kind of had contempt for the Dharma and hated his life there.
Yeah.
And so he kind of says the opposite. And I guess, we're supposed to believe at a certain point they left. But the whole idea that like they actually went to the island, I mean,
Yeah.
I, I
And
just
then
I
you
think
and
that's a
then you might
weird choice.
go and then like to the thing you were saying before, pulling the plug, singing the island, then you go, oh, okay, so the island did exist, Dharma was there,
Hmm.
but then at some point the plug was pulled and it sank.
Yeah.
So then the evil escaped, and
Hmm.
this is a world where
Yeah.
the evil escaped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember that theory. I remember
Yeah.
that theory that like this is a world where the man in black has been let loose. And it was
Hmm.
like, yeah, but then like where's all the evil?
Yeah. Where's all that evil?
We were promised evil. This is not the evil I signed up
And
for.
that actually would have been another interesting take on the final season was showing us the world if Man in Black is not defeated and
Mhm.
how bad that would be and
Yeah,
that would of course giving us an answer
true.
so they weren't going to do that but like that would have been interesting to see the world where Man in Black escaped and then the Losties have to wake up and realize oh we really got to defeat this guy because look how awful everything would be if he got out.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would have been cool. That was another thing that I really wanted, like confirmation, objective information on. I wanted to see some clear evidence, and God damn it, I wanted Man in Black to know.
Hmm.
I wanted him to know that, yeah, when I leave the island, the world's gonna end,
Yeah.
and I don't care. You know, like I wanted him to own that.
Hmm.
And it was disappointing to me that he's just like, no, what are you talking about? Nothing's gonna happen. Get over it.
Yeah.
Like
I
maybe I,
almost wonder if he even knew he was a smoke monster. Like maybe he never saw himself in the mirror. Well, no, I mean obviously people talk to him about being a smoky, but like it just he was
yeah.
so removed from what he was that it seemed like he didn't even know he was shape shifting or wafting around in a cloud of smoke. It was so that's the bad part of season of the last Man in Black is Locked and all that stuff is he
Yeah.
never owned it. Even to say like even to give him a vindictive quality of to be like yeah I'm gonna get out off this island and I'm gonna make everyone as miserable as I've
Mhm.
been for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all he needs to say to be like the world's gonna end. But they didn't want to give him that much because they didn't want to say. I think ultimately they didn't want to say he was evil incarnate. They wanted to
Yeah.
say anyone who called him evil incarnate, that was their perspective, that was their impression, that was their
Mhm.
meaning. But it's not objective.
Right. Right. And I think also like if you want to believe it, then you can.
Hmm.
But, from his point of view, he's not that.
Yeah.
And, we're not going to tell you one way or the other what really is the case,
And
you
see, I
know?
think I don't know. I think the show could have been better to actually have Jacob be more good, more sort of the archetype of good, and Man in Black be more the archetype of evil. Because you have Ben, who's the character who's like, well, maybe he's good, maybe he's bad, depending on his situation. He does bad things. But from his perspective, he's not evil. He does what he needs to do. He can justify his actions. Even by the end of
Mhm.
the show, you know, he's not somebody we want to see dead, really, even though he killed Locke and he's going to have died. But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think he's the guy who would have satisfied that kind of weird quasi middle ground of is he evil or not. But to have Ben and even Widmore too, right? Widmore got
Mhm.
his evil erased from his resume
He
by
did.
the end. So
Yeah.
so it's like everyone gets to not really be evil. Then come
Right.
on, somebody should be evil.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's almost like they're all redeemable.
Yeah,
And if Jack was just willing to give him a second chance, like maybe he could have worked things out
yeah,
with old Smokey. It's like, yeah, like that's sort of how I felt. Um, when they had the big fight on the cliff, it was like he shows up and like I kind of felt like, okay, well, he's based on what he's done so far and killing the people on the submarine. Not to mention like everything else he was responsible for before that.
yeah,
How much of which Jack understood, I don't know. But it was like, okay, I guess this is enough reason to just go like get him for revenge. But it did kind of bother me that there wasn't anything more than that.
yeah.
You didn't get the sense that this is a fight for the world.
Yeah, yeah, it was really narrow. The stakes were way more narrow. At worst, the island would have sank.
Yeah.
You know, and which I think is too narrow for this show.
Yeah.
It definitely should have. It definitely should have. I mean, even if they don't want to say the world's going to end, at least make us think it's possible.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess uh uh because and yeah, so I'm trying to organize my thoughts about this. Um uh
Organize them alphabetically.
because of the way like a lot of aspects of the Man in Black, as we've discussed before, are like potentially um really frightening,
Hmm.
you know. um I was just reading this thing. uh I was just reading this article by Stephen King today where he was talking about horror, of course, and he was talking about how like explanations always kill horror. They always make things less scary.
The Jeepers Creepers effect.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's just like once you get to the explanations, like you're less scary now. And um I do think that there was a lot of potential, and like I kind of wanted this, I guess, because he has these qualities. We've compared him to like the clown on It, which is like crazy, scary character
Hmm.
that, isn't really explained if you read the book or watch the miniseries. Um, I I really wanted I really wanted to get some of that from Man in Black because I felt like he had that potential. But like even though they were not big on answers, they did give us explanations,
Hmm.
for him. I mean, they told us like about his childhood and about like how he became that way and his relationship to Jacob, and like they really humanized him a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And once you do that, um, you know, the character isn't scary anymore. But I think the other thing that makes him not scary is that he doesn't see, like you said, he doesn't seem to believe in his own powers.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's just weird. Like I can't even imagine it. Like I didn't do nothing to you.
Can you
Why?
imagine? Yeah.
What's your
Why are you
problem?
why are you running away? I'm just in a drain.
Yeah. What's?
What's the problem with? Is this not what people do? You know, it
I
walks
didn't do
home. It walks
nothing.
home all despondent, like I can't ever
Yep.
make new friends. Like I don't know why. Is it something I did?
Yeah, exactly. It's just so disappointing. And then yeah. Another thing, and I've said this many times, but I think it fits you know, in it's it. It doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same idea as the Man in Black, right? They don't give him a name, you
Yeah.
know, because to give him a name takes away some of his
It makes him
mystery.
relatable. It humanizes
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Totally. And like they said, they intentionally didn't give him a name because they thought that it was more appropriate for the character to preserve that. But you know, it's like, but you did all this other stuff. Why not give him a name with all the
Yeah.
other stuff you did? Like I feel like it didn't fit. The character with no name shouldn't have had all these explanations.
Yeah. I buy
You
that.
know? It should either be he's got a name and the explanations, or he's the Man in Black and we do not humanize him.
Hmm.
And he takes credit for his goddamn powers. Because it's really frustrating. And you know, I mean, I'm 100% convinced that he's the one like doing the dreams and stuff, and that he's responsible for all many of these things that we see. You know, these dead characters that appear and stuff like that. You know, I there's no doubt in my mind about that. I feel like it's really clear from the storytelling. But you know, in the end, it is my interpretation.
Yep. Yep.
And there is no on-screen proof that he could uh, invade your dreams. You know, he
Mhm.
never takes credit for that.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know for sure. And I mean, I always found that frustrating. It's like, it's not like, I mean, the whole point was, yes, I invade your dreams because that's what I want to do,
Like
you
Freddy,
know?
could you imagine Freddy not taking credit for invading your dreams?
Dreams? What are you talking about? I didn't do nothing to you.
That wasn't me. That was somebody else with a burned face and finger knives.
Exactly. It's just totally ridiculous. It's like
Yeah.
it feels like a mishmash of ideas, you know,
Yeah.
that doesn't really fit. And yeah, like I think uh if you really give if you really give that much humanity and also like lack of knowledge about their own capabilities, they can't be very scary or threatening.
Yeah, because they can't wield it consciously and directly. You know,
Yeah.
that's what's threatening, right? Is when someone's coming at you on purpose, not accidentally. Oh, you might maybe get I can't think of the word uh claimed. I was
Mhm.
thinking conscripted. You might get,
Eh,
you might get claimed if you do X, Y, Z. You know, if it's a full moon and you cross paths with Smokey. You
mhm.
know, it's like no, if he wants you, he'll take you. That's scary.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I was just thinking,
Absolutely.
I was listening, like I said before, I was listening to the Further Instructions podcast, and we were talking about how stupid it was that the polar bear kidnapped Echo, and we're like, God, it makes no sense. You know,
Yep.
polar bears would never do that. You know, we're just going on and on and on and on and on about that stupid plot line. But now we go, okay, that wasn't a real polar bear.
Yeah.
That's Man in Black. It makes so much more sense. And we were
Way
trying to
more
figure out why would the polar bear do that? What was the whole point of that? And now and I did mention something about a test, but I couldn't really piece together what the test was because it didn't seem like a polar bear is going to test somebody,
right.
you know. But when you say, okay, that's Man in Black, then you go, okay, well, he can test somebody. He's got a plan. He's got things he wants because he's human. And
Absolutely.
what I would say is, in terms of, like, I agree. Man in Black should have got a name. I think when we get to Across the Sea, and Jacob throws him down in the light cave, and he comes out the other side, and Smokey flies away, but the dead body of Titus Welliver is there. I
Mhm.
think that's when Jacob should have been like, "I'm sorry, brother," and says his name
Yeah.
in his the most human we've ever seen this guy, which is coming off of his entire life story up until that point, as a
Yeah.
young boy, as a young man wanting to leave the island, which is a relatable thing, as someone who was interesting and had ingenuity. He built a donkey wheel, and he
Mhm.
befriended the other Romans who came to the island, all that stuff,
Mhm.
whatever. And then he ends up getting killed with a feud with his brother.
Yep.
And that would have been the point, to say his name once, and for just once and never again for two
Yeah.
thousand years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And boom, it's done.
Yeah. 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 No, I totally agree. That would have worked. That would have worked just fine. That would have worked just fine. I I was expecting it earlier. I was expecting it when he was born. You
Hmm.
know, like Jacob comes out, it's like, wow, and she's like, his name is Jacob. They always do that.
Yeah.
And then like, oh shit, it's another baby.
Hmm.
And then like the other baby comes out, and then
It's
like she looks
Wally.
over, and they zoom in, and she's like, I didn't pick a second name.
Yeah,
And
which
I
is
was just like,
so
what?
anticlimactic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like they were ready. That I mean they had the moment written for them if they wanted to say the name, you know? Like they could have done it right there really easily.
Yeah.
But obviously, Mother, even if the original Mother didn't give a name, obviously the he was called something, right? I mean, it
I
makes no
guess.
sense that they never gave him a name, right? Why is it Jacob and brother? Like
Yeah.
what did they call him, Like he must have had a name.
Maybe
They
he
just
was
don't
just
say it.
always brother.
He was
You
brother.
can
It's
you could get
Jacob and brother.
you could get away with brother for most conversations.
Yeah.
And it is very old school. It's very quaint and ancient. Mother. The husband calls the wife mother. The wife calls the husband
Mhm.
father, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I could almost see them doing that, but I almost, and I guess that's the question: is, does he have a name? That's a
Right.
question. Really, that's unanswered. Like, did you just not tell us his name, or did he actually never
Mhm.
have a name?
My assumption was that Mother gave him a name and they just wrote it so that they wouldn't have to say it on screen
Yeah,
so that we
that's
don't find out what it
that's
is.
more likely. I think that's more likely.
But I think it's kind of an interesting idea that he never got a name.
Yeah, like she never thought of a name, and maybe for some, because she was the birth mother, that's where the name came from, and she didn't have a name until mother, Alice and Janie mother, like, never gave him a name.
Mhm.
Because for most of his life, when he's a kid, she's gonna call him baby.
Right.
When he's a baby.
Mhm. Right.
And then yeah, I can almost see it. I mean, I feel like that's a question we could ask Carlton and Damon is, did he actually have a name?
Yeah.
Not what was his name. Did he have a
Right.
name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good one that they could probably answer
Yeah. And
without
they don't.
having to give
Yeah,
away what they want.
exactly. You don't have to tell us what the name was. Just say, did he have a name?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Cuz like I really want to say the answer is yes, but yeah, it's not necessarily true.
Yeah. I think,
Um
if, just because of how they grew up isolated, like, if it was
right.
any other situation, I'd be like less inclined to believe that. But it's just the three of them for a really long time. I could see them, and then maybe when he is an adult and he goes to live with the other people who are settling on the island, maybe they call him friend,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
uh,
Stranger.
stranger, friend,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that it's totally possible. There's no reason why that's not true. It's just I just thought it would be kind of weird that Jacob has a name and he doesn't,
Yeah.
and that like he
Oh,
would.
it's definitely weird.
Yeah,
No matter what, it's weird.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, but it is a unique situation, and when it is just the three of them, it isn't necessary.
Yeah.
So
And like
we won't really
you
know.
couldn't get away with both of them not having names,
Right.
but you could get away with one of them not having names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. What I was gonna say about the polar bear being Man in Black is that, at the time, I think we couldn't have guessed that
No way. No way.
because
We
we
didn't even
didn't.
know Smokey was anything but a security system.
Yeah. So we're about to talk about an episode where we first get the reveal that, in fact, Smokey can take the form of dead people.
Yep.
And that was a new piece of information.
Yep.
We had no idea, and it was pretty shocking when they reveal this. And I feel like after this, we could have potentially come up with the theory
Mhm.
that he was the polar bear, but
Well, but that's still another leap, though, right? To
it's
say
a
he can
leap.
take the
Yeah,
form of dead people is still another leap to say, and he can also take the form of random animals
yeah,
if he
yeah.
wants. Because then we would have to backtrack to the tree frog.
True, true. Oh, but after this, in the Nikki and Paulo episode, he apparently takes the form of the
The spider.
spiders.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if
Wait
we
a minute.
get to there,
That's now that I think about it, after all these hours, why didn't he just be a spider and poison everybody he wanted to like? Why didn't he just turn into the most poisonous thing on the island and then kill everybody in their sleep?
well, he couldn't kill them because they're candidates because of the rules.
But what if he poisons them? Like he paralyzes them as they like get into the water to go swim, or like
Yeah, I mean that's basically what he did with Nikki and Paolo. That's why it
yeah,
fits the rules because they weren't going to die except they were buried.
yeah.
You know, and so yeah, I guess that would be the plan. Like bite them, get them paralyzed, and then yeah, it's a short show. And then he killed all the candidates because he was a spider.
Then he is more like it or to a spider. Wow.
But yeah, I feel like we didn't really process. Nikki and Paolo kind of took center stage because it was like about them, and the
Yeah.
Nikki and Paolo controversy was a really big deal in season 3.
And
Um,
oh, go ahead.
we've kind of moved on at this point. And so I feel like we didn't really take in the implications that like he can turn into animals too,
Yeah.
you know, to reach back. But
Yeah.
it would have been possible, but I don't think I ever had that thought.
I mean, it is crazy to give him dead people, animals, and dreams, and
Yeah,
telekinesis when he wants it.
right, right.
But
I,
I was gonna mention, like in our original podcast for Every Man for Himself, we said the exact same thing about Paulo of like, why is this new guy being an asshole?
mhm.
Like he should not be an asshole to the people we like if they want us to like this guy. We said the exact same thing.
That's really funny. After all these years.
Yeah. Still the same reaction. Like, why are you an
Yep.
asshole the first time we see you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a bad way to make us try to like a character.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's doomed to fail. Because we've already spent time with Desmond. We don't care about you.
No.
So like you need to respect Desmond a little bit
Yeah.
before we're gonna think about liking you. Like that was really annoying. Um yeah. I mean, oh, I was gonna say I'm also convinced that he was the boar. The boar that pursued Sawyer.
Oh.
Because I think in that episode there are certain elements that really make me think that the boar is the smoke monster.
Yeah.
Um, it's a bit of a weird thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. Oh, and I guess he's like Kate's horse also.
Yeah.
That's a bit strange. So yeah, he's into being animals. I don't know why he stopped doing that later on in the show,
Mm-hmm.
because he was like all about being animals
Well, it's the
during this
animals.
period. But yeah, I think we didn't have enough information to guess it, but we could have guessed it by the end of season 3. But yeah, it was hard. There's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much going on, and it's hard to know what the important details are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we really understood how fundamental the smoke monster was to the
I
story.
mean, if you could have said, wow, in the pilot, that thing in the jungle is one of the most powerful forces on the island. It's gonna be kind of, it was the original thing on the island, and it's gonna end the show. It's all about what
Hmm.
that thing is. That Smokey for the longest time seemed like, just a threshold guardian, a security system, just like
Yeah.
something we'll find out on the road to finding out the really important stuff.
Right.
Again, it's a really interesting kind of plot twist or whatever to kind of dangle one of the most important things on the show really early on,
Yeah.
and us not even realize how important it is.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 And it makes rewatching it really different
Hmm.
because like that stuff stands out more than it did at the time.
Yeah.
Because at the time, like you said, it was just a piece of the puzzle. It was just like, okay, we're gonna find out who Smokey is, and then what Smokey is was more like it, and then we're going to find out how that connects to what the island is, and
Hmm.
it's gonna be like just a gateway or a signpost or just you know what I mean? Like it's not gonna be the ultimate mystery
Yeah.
you know um and yeah it seemed like it was just like, okay, a few times a season, like they're gonna bring out the smoke monster and he's gonna like go after someone, and we're gonna get like a little bit more information about what this thing is.
Hmm.
And yeah, they did that for a while, but it never. I think the problem was, I don't know, something happened, something really weird happened where we kind of missed the signals that it was the smoke monster behind things.
Well, and to that effect, I was gonna say, and I'll say now, that we didn't think that Smokey had human level intelligence and consciousness. I think that was
Right.
the big jump. Is we thought it was more like a guard dog or a machine or something that doesn't have the same level of will and interest and goals and motivations that Man in Black has. And I
Yeah.
think understanding that was a key part of, okay, well, this thing isn't just, oh, it's not just attacking you because you're in its territory and you stepped over this imaginary line or something
Mhm.
in the jungle. No, it's after you for a certain reason, And I was just thinking about Locke when Smokey tries to take Locke into the hole, and Locke is like,
Mhm.
"Let me go," and like he probably would have dragged Locke into the hole. Maybe there's some underground cavern there, and it probably would have played similar to when Locke talks to wait, is that a scene? Am I making this up? Um, oh, that's Ben. I'm thinking of Ben in the Under the Temple. But
Mhm.
a scene like that where he would have appeared to Locke as a dead person, as somebody
Mhm.
Locke knew or whatever, and tried to convince him of something. He wasn't
Yeah.
going to necessarily go down there and just kill Locke, and he wasn't
Right.
going, and Locke wasn't going to see Smokey just waft around and do nothing. Like he would have saw an apparition of something,
Right.
and it would have been, he would have had some motivation and some coercion towards Locke, and that and it's kind of like we can say that now, but that's not something we would have thought in that scene when we originally saw it. That okay, yeah, Smokey's gonna drag Locke down there and then appear as somebody else to convince Locke to do something.
Right.
But that's
Right.
probably what would have happened.
Yeah. 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 No, that's really logical. I mean, that's sort of what happens to Rousseau's team,
Exactly. Yeah.
and they also get dragged down.
hmm
Um, or one of them at least gets dragged down.
I almost want to say the only person Smokey just outright kills is the pilot. Like every time, or on like Kimi's team and stuff like that. But like usually, if he's after somebody, it's
He
not.
kind of didn't kill them though. He just sort of like roughed them up a little.
Yeah, but I mean, he kind of came after them. But I mean, like most
Yeah.
times, it's not about Smokey using brute force just to kill somebody.
And
It's
he killed one of the Russo team members too. Well, he killed I think two of them. But you're right. In general, that's not, and the temple too. Like when he raids the temple, he
when he
definitely
raised the
kills a
temple.
bunch
Yeah,
of people. I think there are times where he'll just straight up, and also the Black Rock when that arrives, he comes in and kills a couple of them.
yeah. But it's like he gets rid of the people he
Echo.
doesn't need. Like he gets rid of. But even with that go though, before that he has a plan. You know what
True.
I mean? Like it's not. Yeah, he might kill the people who he doesn't need in that group of people. But if he's coming after one person, he's gonna probably appear as an apparition first. You
Yeah.
know, he's got some plan, he's got some idea of what to do. It's not just about he's not like I said, he's not just a guard dog who's gonna just viciously
Yeah.
attack you.
He's not prone to just like killing random people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like um, he usually has some kind of thought process behind what he's doing.
Because he's a person.
And so yeah, and so if he's gonna kill somebody, it usually is for a reason.
Yeah.
But I think this is the episode where we start getting the idea that he does have this human consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of a turning point.
Yeah, there's something going on definitely in this episode where you start to see him differently. I mean we'll watch it and see, but I still think it wasn't crystal clear even after this because Gimme was so weird
Right.
and so specific in what he was saying and so weird. I'll say that again.
Yeah. No, like I agree. It's not fully clear yet, but
Yeah,
it's I
it's
think
the
the
next big step
the
for sure.
yeah the biggest hint we've had so far.
Yeah, for sure.
And I remember after this, we were totally sure that Christian Shepherd, like I was listening to a while ago, I was listening to our podcast about the Mobisode with Christian Shepherd, the infamous
Go
So It
wake him up
Begins. Yeah,
when he tells
exactly.
Vincent to go wake up Jack.
Go wake up Jack. Yeah, he's got work to do.
Yeah.
Um, uh, we were both quite sure that he was the smoke monster, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and we were right, you
Yeah.
know. But then at some point we forgot that or we changed our minds because I know that later on I didn't think Christian Shepherd was a smoke monster anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something about the way they presented him in the cabin, and at the donkey wheel, I just changed my mind, I guess, or I forgot. I don't know what happened, but it's because when we find out later again that no, it was him. It's like, oh, well, I should have known that
Mm-hmm.
because like as soon as we find out he's Yemi, the parallel is really clear with Christian.
Yeah.
You know, because they have a very similar story, crashing on the island, their dead bodies are there, and then their relatives show up
Mm-hmm.
and he appears as them to manipulate them in some way, you know. And I really wonder what happened where I changed my mind. We both did, you know, to being so right, and then it was like, what? Christian's a smoke monster?
It must have been something. I mean, I'm just thinking when Claire gets there, she thinks that's her dad. I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
something happened with just the long term impersonation and
Yeah.
and and the motivation. It seemed maybe we thought from the motivation factor that it was Christian. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what we were saying back then and when it turned.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to go back. You're right. I forgot because we saw him with Claire before we saw him in the cabin.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I need to go back to because after the Mobisode, he was in the cabin at the beginning of the season too, Hurley season in there. Um, so I got to go back to that and then the Claire thing and then Cabin Fever and see like at what point we changed our minds.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting because I guess it was just that he stayed in that form the whole time, and there's never a follow up scene like here with Yemi. It's follow up scene smoke monster,
Yeah,
you know, and we never get that with Christian.
yeah,
We never get a clear indication that there's a connection between the two, except after the fact when we know what his plans were and we know what he did, and we know stuff like, oh, the ash circle keeps him out, you know.
yeah. And maybe there was something with the idea that we thought maybe we were being too limited, thinking Smokey only appears as dead people that the living person knows.
Mhm.
So maybe when Christian was
Right.
appearing as Christian to people who didn't know Christian, we thought, well, okay, it's not Smokey then, because he can
Mhm.
only use the dead people that that person know. Maybe that factored in somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that seems logical.
And by the way, why was he? Why did he appear to Christian to Vincent?
Damn good
I mean,
question.
obviously for the audience's sake, but
For the
like,
audience mainly, yeah.
it's so and technically, I think technically Smokey could have turned himself into Vincent to go wake up Jack.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. That would have been a crazy scene to show. That wasn't Vincent.
Yeah,
That was Smokey, which yeah, I
it's
think
pretty
is
much the same thing,
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
Smokey starting this adventure, but like more direct.
Another element of that scene, speaking of like Smokey's crazy powers, is that he talks to Vincent and Vincent
Yeah,
understands him.
yeah, I was gonna say that too. I mean, I guess if you can turn into animals, you know how to talk to animals.
I guess so, but it's like he tell like go wake up my son. Like Vincent
Yeah,
doesn't even know who Christian or Jack. I mean he's not their dog.
yeah,
So it's like even if he could understand
yeah, you're
English,
right.
he doesn't necessarily know who that is. So
Yeah,
it's like somehow he's able to communicate this to the dog, and it's like what?
yeah, yeah. That's a retconny kind of scene.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it kind of doesn't work. It's interesting, but yeah, that's a it's several stretches in there.
definitely.
Because I forgot, yeah, Vincent hasn't even met Jack yet. He doesn't even know who that
Mhm.
is.
Yeah. Yeah, or Christian or anybody that's not Michael and Walt.
Yeah, but Vincent, they
So
always played Vincent like he knew a little bit too much.
they did. It's true. It's true. And yeah, the idea that he talked to the smoke monster like seconds after the crash, like
Hmm.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's totally crazy. It's like
Vincent's like, I know what's going on here.
yeah, I feel like he's the ultimate Nicky and Paulo. It's like if he could just talk, they could
Yeah,
have been like done like so quickly.
yeah,
Like, Arf, that's the smoke monster. Arf, I figured that out years ago.
yeah. You guys are behind. All right, do you want to get into the episode?
I think so. I think so. It's very apropos for our conversation.
Yeah, I think so. I think we arrived right where we need to be.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those episodes that that looks really different after you've seen the whole show.
Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody, get your players ready. If you're gonna sync up with us, watch some Cost of Living,
All right. Let's
which
do it.
I think is like $2.
$2.
Yeah,
Not a bad deal.
pretty cheap.
I'll take it.
Two Dharma dollars.
Dharma bucks. Okay, of course.
Has to
Dharma
be.
drachmas.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Okay, here we go.
Dollars are too boring for them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
I'm ready.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Previously on Lost, Colleen makes a fatal mistake.
No, you won't, son. Of course.
The pain was with heroin. He says that so casual, just tosses it.
He does. Yeah, that's weird. I never thought of that as being casual, but
Just heroin. Just a
really
heroin
is.
plane.
Whatever.
They're all over the island.
I've seen Stranger.
Yeah. Yeah, me.
Oh yeah, me. I wonder if that's gonna come back up.
Nah. They just brought it up so you can remember to forget it. I always like this game of like who's who.
Yeah.
They do this with Saeed too. When Saeed's young, it's like he's got his brother or whatever,
Right,
and it's like,
right.
which one's Saeed?
With Saeed, it's a fake out. I feel like with the size here, you can kind of infer
Yeah,
who's who. I think the casting's pretty good here, actually.
yeah, for sure.
I always think it's cool when they can find kid actors that are convincingly like
The
feel
adults.
like they could grow up to be that person.
I always wonder if they get pictures of the adult actors as kids to use this
Hmm.
for casting.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
I like this actress Aisha
I
Hines.
do too.
She's in a
I
lot of
do
stuff. She
too.
pops up everywhere. She's actually on Under the Dome right now.
Oh
She
wow.
doesn't get a lot of screen time, but she's always good.
Yeah, she's really intense.
Mhm. That's kind of weird. Such a weird imagery. Like you can kind of see the
Hmm.
piece,
Yeah.
see the bottom half. It's kind of scary.
It is. It is. It's
Like
intimidating.
he's got no top half.
Yeah.
Like but you're too scared to pull back the curtain to ever find out.
Hmm.
All right, another eye. We're gonna get the eye shot. Oh, he's unconscious. Okay.
Yeah. And
Couple days.
damn.
It's been a couple days.
I didn't know it was that much. Somebody wake his ass up. Jesus.
He's busy having a flashback.
You gonna
Let him
sleep through
sleep.
the rest of the show?
It's interesting how he qualified that polar bear cave, not save them from the polar bear,
Mm-hmm.
because that's more ridiculous.
Really is.
That's how you know you're dreaming when your eyes move.
That's a good point. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah,
You think
otherwise
he's
you're just
supposed to be
sleeping.
dreaming this?
I think so.
Because I never really made that
What?
connection.
Look at the cross cutting here.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, they're kind of recapping the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's strange. They don't usually do this. I would expect this to be in previously on Lost.
Yeah, they did a little bit of that, and then we need the full force for when Yemi comes back.
Right. Spoiler alert, but yeah.
I always love this part of the story too, where the escape he doesn't get to escape, but the escape
Hmm.
is actually leads to everybody's death who did escape. It's this
Right.
weird turning the situation on its head of like, oh no, now you're trapped forever. No, actually you're the one who gets to live.
Yeah.
And then this.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if Man in Black is inducing that
That is a
flashback
good
thing.
point that I just thought of 2 seconds after you said it. Because that did not occur to me
Because
before.
otherwise, it's just a coincidence that he shows up right when he's having this dream.
Yeah. You're totally right.
Or is this still a dream? Was that even a dream? I don't know. Maybe he didn't actually wake up.
See, the thing is, I think it's a dream originally until the tent's on fire.
Okay.
Since he's holding that lighter. And it makes me think that he really was there.
Interesting.
And I remember being confused by that because we saw Yemi before in the dream.
Yeah, I'm your brother.
It's okay, brother.
We're all
This
brothers
guy's
here.
like Desmond over here.
Yeah.
He's bloody gone.
Are we supposed to think he disappeared or?
I
Guys,
don't know what we're supposed to think.
there's sand on the beach. Follow the footsteps.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe he doesn't leave footprints.
Because he's wearing shoes, so he leaves shoe prints.
Yeah.
Zing. What are you doing, Jack?
Dude, get a little workout.
Yeah.
Doing some pull-ups.
Is he preparing for that war?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait for that. He got bored of pulling on the chain. Oh, it's evening now.
Mm-hmm. Ha!
Yeah, this weird tunic thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but I think it doesn't quite work.
Oh, he does figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying last episode.
But this is what's so crazy is what has Ben thinking? Is he like, I'm so glad you came to the conclusion I wanted you to come to? Or is he like, I didn't want you to think that right now? Like,
Yeah,
who's in control? Is he letting Jack think he's in control?
yeah. I think we're gonna get a little more about what Ben's thinking here,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember right.
I don't have a spine.
Look at me.
Look at me. I'm completely spineless.
I jiggle around. Jiggle and slop.
Never say that again.
What else do you do if you don't have a spine?
Yeah, just don't say it.
Okay. Not saying it's not realistic. I'm just saying you shouldn't say it
Don't
again.
say it. Yeah, this was. I don't even know what. I don't even know what to do with this.
Yeah, I just feel like they don't ever portray the others like this again, and so it just feels really random.
Yeah, it's this and the sheriff of
Yeah,
like the outlier. Here's the culture of the others that we'll never get back to again.
yeah. Because I feel like they have other cultural things that they stick to more consistently,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And yeah, I think I guess that is what they're going for, but yeah.
And maybe this is supposed to be some kind of explanation of like, I don't know. I mean, not that anybody would be questioning this, but like why there's no graves or something of other dead people that we come across.
Mhm.
Maybe that's supposed to be kind of an answer too.
Yeah,
Because surely others have died before.
I'm certain of it.
I'm still confused. I don't even know what happened there.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
did you show him the X-rays I need him to see?
Right.
I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah. No, I think we're still gonna find out.
Okay, there's more coming.
I think there's more coming. Imploded.
Loaded.
Imploded.
Please.
Get it right.
You guys waited till the morning to look?
I know. It's like really sunny out now. Luck knows.
Yeah. And luckily, it's the same place
It's the same
where
place.
where the other station is. And he
Exactly.
says it.
Yep.
Thanks, Buck.
Yep. Yeah, this works out nicely. It's like I like the idea. Let's revisit the Pearl
Yeah.
and Echo can have his thing at the same
Yeah,
time.
the plane and the Pearl being together is great.
Yeah. Like it almost seems like coincidence, but I guess it's written that way.
Exactly where I don't want to be.
Yeah, that's weird. I guess it's the same church.
Yeah, this is Yumi's church.
He goes back to and it was Yemi's before, of course.
Yeah.
So Yemi went grew up to be the priest in the church where he was when he
The
was a
town
kid.
priest, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
Well,
guess
they're
that
not going to build two church sets.
sure. But I guess I had forgotten that it's the same place because
Yeah.
that's the weird little confession booth where you see the legs. And if we needed any more proof,
There it is.
yeah. So I guess that's Yemi's Bible, and he used the picture as a bookmark or something.
I think so.
I never really put that together. I remember thinking he just randomly found a picture in a book there, that's seemed really strange.
Mm-hmm.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Really weird dropped plot line about how Echo's gonna go to London. They never follow up on that, but Echo had some adventures in London that we'll never learn about. Yeah, yeah. I still didn't get the hint though that Yemi was connected to this thing.
Connected
I
to what?
connected to the smoke monster.
Oh.
We just saw it fly by and it's around him for the whole episode and I just it wasn't until the end when I got it.
That was exceptionally strange
Yeah,
because there was multiple dead people.
yeah, he manifests a vision of multiple people. It kind of reminds me of the daydream thing.
Yeah. This is what we call one of those open missions.
I'm not Jack, Kate's not here, and Saeed's coming.
Yeah, I need more people. It's great.
Of course he
Of
whines.
course
He's
he's fine.
Paulo.
He's Paulo. both. There's your coincidence. Or do, because it's just a coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Locke's problem in a nutshell. I mean, this is again the show telling us
Totally.
how value what you value and where you place your meaning.
Yeah. And that's him throwing Echo's line out.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely something there with Locke and Echo. I wish they had more time to develop that.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I was gonna say is this kid appearing and like shushing. Um, I remember Walt did the same thing
Yeah.
when he came out of the trees, like right before Ana Lucia shoots Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's really relevant because that's just a thing you see. It's kind of a trope,
Kids
but
telling you to shush is really scary and ominous.
yeah, exactly. But if I wanted to throw in that being the smoke monster, I might say that
Yeah.
because I do suspect he appears as Walt at a certain point.
From us.
That's what it is. That's how the mob is,
That's
though.
that protection racket. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll protect you from us, like robbing you.
We'll rob you by protecting you from robbing us. What?
Exactly.
Nope, he doesn't. He was just washing his sins away earlier.
It's true.
Yeah, all of this would play so much differently if he hadn't just been attacked by the polar bear and is in like such bad condition.
Yeah.
Because it helps that he's like on the verge of unconsciousness every 2 seconds.
Right. Yeah, he's kind of delirious.
Yeah.
Smoke monster reflection.
Just gonna say we get the answer to that question.
Yep.
Does the smoke monster have a reflection?
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Locke
It
is a
makes it
smoke
look
monster.
like exactly.
Which later is true.
I know. That's the strange thing. If
That's
someone wanted
so
to have a
weird.
crackpot theory, they could say Locke's already the smoke monster.
But that wouldn't be valid because he has no idea what he's doing at this point. So he
Of
couldn't
course.
possibly be man in flesh.
Yeah, definitely.
A human head. Oh, not a human head, maybe? Wouldn't that be great if it was like Colleen's heart? And it's like, damn, the others are
Wow.
morbid.
Wow.
With the toothpick through it. They're gonna end up together.
Are you guys having fun? Cause shut up.
Cause shut up.
oh, Ben.
I still don't get why they had Jack come to Colleen's funeral.
I don't either.
I mean, they could have showed us the funeral without Jack being there.
Okay, I think this is it.
Yeah.
This is the reveal, the plan. Of
Yeah.
course, it is just what Ben says, but TV's Julie Bowen?
Modern Family's Julie Bowen?
You know, watching this now, I'm not sure if what he's saying is true or if this is the plan.
It's so tough to tell because he should have known that X-rays were in that room when he was in the room.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But
I mean,
I
I
do
get
like the idea that there's just not enough time for this long con, and he does have to
right.
speed it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the clue that he's telling the truth is his scene with Juliet, where it's just the two of them, and he's like, "Why did you let him see my X-rays?"
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, he shouldn't be conning her.
Exactly. She should be in on it, on the plan,
Yeah.
at least to that level. Oh no, not this
Oh,
speech.
this line.
I forgot that was from this.
You should know so many other things that could be. Like you getting healed as a kid. I mean, maybe he doesn't remember that.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, there's so many
Yeah,
other things, dude.
there really are.
But again,
Th-
that's interesting because it goes, I guess, back to the idea that he doesn't know why the plane crashed. But he should, right?
That's true.
Or no,
Uh,
no.
no, no, I don't think he does.
Okay.
I don't think the others ever understand that, unless someone tells them at some point.
As he's like looking in the trees. Flashback.
Well, no, it's a weird cut because I don't feel like this is a cut to what he's afraid of.
No. Well, it's a cut to the idea that he's afraid, right? Because before in this flashback, he told the
Ah,
warlord
right.
guy,
I'm
"I'm
not
not afraid
afraid
of
of
you."
you.
Yeah, so it's more
Yeah,
of a literary connection than what
yeah.
he's actually going through.
You're right. But he did that with the smoke monster as well. Like when he originally met it, that's what he said to Charlie, like, I wasn't afraid of it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And now it seems like maybe he is.
That didn't help.
Yeah. Ouch.
Disco bar. I never saw that sign before.
Disco bar.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing the disco.
so this is where disco came to die. See, that kind of goes with what he's afraid of. Like he wasn't gonna stand up to that guy.
Right.
And stay there and be the priest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot they were here.
Yeah, like shut up.
And then yeah, that exposition, his brother's body's in the plane.
Yeah, it's like don't. You're not allowed to give exposition. Why do you even know that, Nikki?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
So I don't know. Is it shouldn't the Pearl be like the other station, the Swan, where it has like a normal front door?
It should be. Oh yeah, this thing.
Classic. And that actually reminds. That's so. Oh, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So did Locke just interpret what he saw, or did Smokey actually appear as a bright light to convince Locke to go along with him and to like not fear him?
It's a good question, and I feel like we
Uh,
just don't know.
and Echo saw the truth because he's not,
Hmm.
you know. Hmm,
Yeah, he doesn't have the need to believe in
yeah,
whatever this stuff is. But yeah, the body being missing,
yeah, that was crazy.
very crazy.
Yeah, I think
Very,
that's another reason we don't think Smokey is Yimmy at this point
yeah,
because we think,
that's
oh,
true.
the body just got up and started walking around,
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like Christian.
just like Christian. Yeah, and that again goes back to doubt and your perspective, because if there was
Hmm.
hard proof the body's here, you'd go, okay, well then the Yimmy we saw was something else.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. It takes them all the way to Locke to give us a body right next to the actual manifestation.
Hmm.
But yeah, I remember Locke and Echo's conversation led to the I don't think we necessarily had this, but it was definitely out there, the two smoke monsters theory.
Oh wow.
There was the like light smoke monster and the dark smoke monster.
Yeah, forgot about that.
That one didn't really happen, but it is interesting. But I think very lost that they see the same monster and maybe they see different things, but their interpretations are completely different.
Yeah.
Very classic, I think.
I love Locke when he's like this. He's like self assured.
Mhm.
He knows what he's doing. He helps. Like it's nice. He's good at that. when he
Yeah.
with 5% of the time he does it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like he's good now. He's gonna lose it again this season.
This
It's like
season.
it never lasts.
Never.
That's the problem.
Ooh,
Yikes. Ouch.
that'll do it. There's no blood on that machete. Oh, I see. There's some on the edge. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say it better not be clean.
Which kid can I kill?
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, he's just gonna start murdering the whole village.
Like the priest walking out with a machete and a gun in his hand.
Yeah.
Like,
This is a Tarantino character or like a
it
Robert
is.
Rodriguez character.
Totally. Totally.
Machete gun priest.
The vengeful holy
Oh
man.
shit.
Yep.
And they get to watch the video. I remember that being upset about
Yep.
that.
Yep. I was even more upset about what's about to happen.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh god.
Yeah, yeah. Get ready to enjoy.
I do remember it's something awful.
Vomiting. What?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah, that's a bad line.
Why does Nikki get to figure out stuff?
And then he comes out of the bathroom. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember this whole just hating all of it.
yeah. So annoying.
It's like light a match, Paulo.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like he's all casual and then she's like figuring out
She's
stuff that
feeling
our character
fundamental
can't.
mysteries of the. Yeah, exactly. Why
It's
he.
just like and they even put the accent on it by at Locke saying like, "Well, now I feel stupid."
Yeah.
It's like, "Really?" Oh, I remember this from the previews.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
remember
no. This
thinking
is
this
gonna
was an
be
alien.
such a long-term mystery. Yeah, I remember that being creepy as hell.
Yeah. Yeah, like he knows. I guess when they turned it on, like the camera came on and he saw it.
Yeah, I think that's the only explanation. The light came on the camera or it started
Yeah.
moving or something. Yeah. Which really we should have a scene where Mikhail calls Ben and says, "Hey, they're in the Pearl."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, this is now this.
This is a great scene.
If you don't fall in love with Juliet yet, this will do it. This
Yeah.
is just one of the top. Nah, there's a lot of scenes, but
I
top
I
but top 15 lost scenes.
I love the way they write this. I love the way they show this. And it's classic Lost.
Yeah,
What she says, what we watch, what we take away from that.
yeah. I also love it's in her house where she had the breakdown about the muffins.
Yep.
It connects back to her disdain with her situation.
Yep. Yeah, like she made this a while ago.
Hmm.
And it's like the cards are commenting on what she's saying.
Yeah.
Like he's a
Well,
great
she
man.
remembers. She remembers what she wrote, so she's saying, things that line up with it, but are the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, this was really exciting because we really didn't know where we stood with Juliet
Yeah.
at this point, and this was really a big turning
Yeah.
point.
This is huge.
She's like, "Okay, can you try to kill Ben for me?"
Then we find out the card is like, "You can trust me." How many times are you gonna blink? I don't know if there's ever been a scene like this before. I mean, there's
It's
been things
really
like
amazing.
it, but
It's really amazing. She's also taking a risk. Like
yeah,
he could reveal what she just did.
yep. I think that's why that she spent so much time with that burger. Like, let me make his last meal good. So
Mhm. He'll be more likely to buy into my plan.
yeah, that was God. That seemed so great.
It really is. I think the only thing that like hurts it for me is the sort of follow through.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't quite turn out as cool as it seems, but the scene itself is still really brilliant, I think.
Yes.
Apparently.
Yep, here it comes.
Judged.
Judgment. Maybe she's a smoke monster.
And they throw in an
Oh,
explanation for the church
yeah.
at the last minute.
I guess I still don't understand why he decided to do the church then.
On the island?
Like, yeah, like I almost would want him to start building the church now. Like
Mm-hmm.
now that all of this guilt is coming to the surface.
I see what you mean.
But he's not gonna be around and build a church.
No. I don't think that's gonna work out.
Yeah, we were so obsessed about this confession and why would Smokey want a confession? Why does he care about
Yeah,
the religious thing? But it's really about what Echo believes, and
right.
he's using Echo's belief system and guilt to see if he can
Yeah.
bend him to his will.
Yeah, we didn't really I feel like I didn't really understand how to think about the motives of the smoke monster. I like Yimmy's jacket being like dirty here.
Oh yeah, I don't know why. I guess because he was
It's
dead, but this is a great shot too.
it is, yeah. It's really nice. Hawaii, ladies and gentlemen.
Hmm. What left turn curveball record
What?
scratch?
I don't think this is what he wants to hear.
No. What?
What? That kind of ruins my speech.
Let me go change clothes. I'll show you.
Yeah. Give me like 2 seconds. I can't do it in front of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, who are you? Who are you? I really didn't understand that that was an important question yet.
Yeah.
But it really is. They've got that fundamental thing already here. I don't think that gun's gonna help.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I guess there's no other
Actually,
entrance.
I think there is another door, or maybe not.
Said the exact opposite.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not
I think
sure.
that's the way Ben and Juliet get down there too.
I want to say that they don't, that they use another door, but maybe I'm remembering it wrong. We'll see. They'll show it again. But yeah, it's weird that it's also a hatch. Why are they here? God damn it. They ruin it.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Famous last line. Nothing bad will ever happen to us.
Yep. Nothing but good times
Yeah.
from here on out.
Things are looking up for the old, whatever their last names are, brothers.
Yeah. I have no idea. They're Yemi and Echo. They don't have last names. Because he's Mr. Echo.
And it's weird because I don't think they. I guess they heard the sound, but I don't know if they understand that Smoke Monster did this.
I think they do, because I think they talk about it in the
Okay.
next episode or in the one after that. I think at least Locke knows what it was.
Yeah, figures it out. Boom.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Oh
So
man.
much with that.
So I brought this up before. I couldn't hear it because I don't have the audio up super loud, so I can like hear you.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing I read a while ago was that he didn't actually say "we're next" or "you're next" or whatever he's supposed to say. That Locke repeats,
Mhm.
like the whispering. If you listen closely, supposedly what he says is "I saw the devil."
Oh.
And I guess they decided to change that, but I feel like that line would work also,
Mhm.
for where the show
It's less.
goes.
It's less. I think that line might be better. It's less foreboding
Yeah.
than we're next, because that makes us. I gotta watch the next episode.
Mhm.
We're gonna die. They're
Yeah.
gonna die. You know.
And I feel like that's why they changed it, but I
Yeah.
think ultimately where next is a letdown
Yeah.
because there's no follow up to that forever,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like way, way late before, Smokey's gonna threaten them directly.
Mhm.
So it just seems weird, but you're right, it does make you want to watch the next episode more. But I think thematically, and also just in terms of how Lost is in general, it makes kind of more sense to have the other line.
And and that's actually another reason they probably didn't like that line. I saw the devil was people would go, "Oh, Smoke Monster's the devil.
Right, right,
They're in
right.
purgatory. Smoke Monster's the devil, or
Smoke
whatever."
Monster's the devil, yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. People would say that. But, it would be invalid because that's just his interpretation,
Mhm.
you know? And it would make sense though because later on he's called Evil Incarnate, so it's not really crazily out of bounds from stuff they say later. In a way it seems to fit better. But another thing I was thinking watching that scene is I really feel like that confrontation between the smoke monster and Echo is closer to what I wanted between between Jack and the smoke monster than what we
Mhm.
actually get. I feel like it has this grandiose quality
Yeah.
that I wish they could have captured for the end of the series. Because this is just a scene. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's a small scene. I mean, it's just about Echo,
Mhm.
and his own like reflections on his life, and how he feels about his actions. And he thinks he's justifying them to his brother, and then he finds out he's not. Um, but there's something. sort of justifying his whole life and getting down on his knees, and there's something, and then the reveal, like, it's, I don't know, it's dramatically really nicely done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wish we could have had that feeling instead of just another fight on the cliff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't really measure up, and it's like season 3 episode 5 should not be more epic than the
Hmm.
final episode.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But yeah, the location is great. It's not about a fight. It's about this, like, confrontation. I mean, it does end with him killing
It's
Echo,
a battle of
but
ideas and beliefs that come head to head, and I think that's what
yes.
makes it larger than life. Because Echo did come to this grand realization about everything, and he brings that to the table. That's his weapon to bring to the table.
Right.
That makes it interesting. But watching this again, I'm kind of confused. Maybe you can walk me through it. I'm confused what we're supposed to think because Echo didn't confess. So Man in Black goes, okay, he's not gonna confess. So why am I killing him? Because he's only useful to me if he feels guilty? Is that the idea?
Um, yeah, I mean, they don't really tell us, but I would say, yeah, something like that. I mean, I definitely think a running theme of the way the smoke monster works is he definitely manipulates people's emotions in general, and, like,
Oh, and he's got nothing. So yeah, so he can't do anything more to Echo. If Echo has made peace with his past and with
mhm,
how Yimi died and all that stuff, then
yep.
he's got no leverage over him. I see. Okay, I think that does make sense.
Exactly.
He's got no leverage.
Exactly. Because that's what he does with Ben. He uses Alex to tell him what to do because he feels
Yeah.
guilty about what happened to Alex. And I think Jack with his father is another example. Like, I think that's something, a boon with Locke, like, he
Mhm.
goes to that well a lot. And so, yeah, I think it kind of makes sense that if he's not if he's accepted what he did for Yemi, and he feels like deserves forgiveness, that he did the best he could with his life, and he's at peace with that, then yeah, he's not really a good tool.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. We would have never thought of that back then. We would have went,
Hell no.
oh, he didn't confess, and the smoke monster wants you to come to the island to confess. If you don't confess, it kills you.
Yeah, so, like, my takeaway from this episode was the smoke monster judges people.
Yep. Yeah,
The
and
st-
which Ben later
yes,
brings back up.
yes, he sure does. And
I
and
came to be judged.
yeah, yeah. I came here to be judged. And it's like, where the fuck did that come from? You know?
Ben is watching old episodes of Lost.
Yeah, yeah. Like, where else did he get that? Or does the
Yeah.
smoke monster do this a lot? And they're like, there's, like, random others who go out and talk to him, and they're like, yeah, I was judged by the smoke monster today, and like, it was a great experience. Like, I just don't understand, like, how that gets to Ben.
I almost want to think Ben is more saying I came to face the consequences of my actions, which is
Hmm.
he might think he'll see Alex or whatever, but they kind of just summed it up with to be judged, but it's really more nuanced than that because like he shouldn't think it'll be a judgment, but he should think he's gonna face the jury, face his crimes head on or whatever instead of making excuses for them or running away from them.
Right.
Yeah,
But
that's so weird.
But why is that the smoke monster? I mean, why does he think the smoke monster is going to provide this, like, facing of his, this whatever it is, this ability to come to terms, or take responsibility for what he did? Why would the smoke monster be involved in that process for him? You know?
Hmm.
Like, I don't understand where he got that idea. I mean, it's really weird to me.
Well, maybe he knows something's up with the temple. Like maybe that's happened before at the temple where you see dead people. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get there. Maybe
We
we'll have
will. We
a
will.
good theory by the time we get there.
We will get there. It's been bothering me the whole time because it feels like he says that for the viewers.
Yeah.
Because we're waiting. I think the whole time we're waiting for like, okay, we need more on the smoke monster judging people, you
Hmm.
know? And that episode, I mean, I guess what we learned in that episode, what they reinforce, I think it's something they already tell us here, is that it doesn't judge you. It uses your guilt to make you do what it wants.
Yeah.
And that's because that whole judgment ends with, you better listen to John Locke or I'll kill you.
Yeah.
you know and he uses the form of Alex to tell him that. And so I think that's what we learn about it. And that's fine because I believe it. That's what the judgment is. He doesn't really care about judging people. It's just about accomplishing his goals. you know but that doesn't solve the problem of where Ben got that idea in the first place.
I was just thinking about Ben when he's a kid, seeing his mom. After she was dead. Um. So maybe he knows he can see dead people again.
Hmm.
But yeah, how that's relating directly to Smokey
He
or the
does know
temple.
that, and I do think that was the smoke monster. There was a thing with the fence with her. But I still feel like it's a stretch for him to make that connection.
Yeah.
You know, and it is like he's seen the show or something. And he never brings it up again. I mean, later on, there's no conversation. But when he knows that's a smoke monster, he never. I feel like he never really acknowledges or comes to terms with like the idea that he went to him for judgment, you
Mhm.
know, and he kind of betrayed him, completely. I mean, I feel like that it just never comes across.
Yeah.
They just kind of forget about it, and it's kind of frustrating.
It's kind of like the line of in here where we're next. I think
Mhm.
it's not 100% organic to the character's current situation.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just, yeah, it's kind of crowbarred in there. And uh I wish they had written in the connecting part there, you know. I mean, I remember later when they go back to his office, like the place where you summon the smoke monster.
Mhm.
I mean, that's another can of worms there, but he's like, yeah, there's the place where I was told I can summon the monster. And it's like, who told you that? Like, where did that come? It's just
Mhm.
really strange that there's all these beliefs about the smoke
Honestly, the only
monster.
person who could have told him that is Man in Black.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah,
the only logical person who could have ever told him that. And he's basically saying, "Listen, if for some reason you need me to show up, I'll show up if it suits my needs. But so maybe there's some deleted scene where he sees his mom or he sees somebody, his dad or something, and
yeah.
and it's Man in Black, and he said, "Go into the
Mhm,
hole and call for me."
mhm.
But that's also just a mechanical scene too, because they do need Smokey to show up somehow.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is that a question we could ask Carlton and Damon? How does Ben know?
I feel like that would be a fair question. I don't think I've ever heard anyone ask it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and it's not really a big answer question. I mean, it's just kind of a basic like,
Yeah.
how would a character know this? I
Hmm.
mean, just in general, the idea of the others and their knowledge of the smoke monster, it's kind of a murky thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, in the Richard episode, we see him have like really specific interactions with the smoke monster, and there really should be some big takeaways from that interaction that it doesn't seem like he has later.
Yeah. That reminds me of the whole, when Widmore's running the island and the others. Like,
Hmm.
what interactions did he have with Man in Black?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, because I mean, what he says to the Man in Black is, well, I've heard about noises in the night and
Hmm.
scary stories, and like, I mean, he sort of is like, all that's known about you is these legends, and I guess maybe that's what we're supposed to think. Like the others, like put their kids to bed, and they're like, the smoke monster is gonna come judge you if you're bad, or like,
Hmm.
is it like there's some weird lore around him. But I feel like the problem is it seems like none of them know that the smoke monster is um the enemy of Jacob that wants to kill him, and
Well,
that
Jacob
Jacob
never mentioned
is
it.
holding I know.
And that's the
I
other thing
know.
too. I
But
don't think.
Richard knows, and since Richard knows, he should
Well, but
tell
does Richard
somebody.
know that Man in Black is a smoke monster?
Yes, because he tells him. He tells him on
Oh,
screen.
he does tell him.
Yeah, he's like, no, that was me. I'm a smoke monster. So he knows, and it just seems like later on he forgets. Not only does he know it's a smoke monster, but he knows that the smoke monster can appear as dead people. And I really feel like he's way too late to come up with the fact that when Locke comes back and says that he was dead and now he's back, like to put two and two together,
Hmm.
with the same, okay, and we have to go see Jacob right now,
Maybe
you
that's the
know.
difference, though. Maybe they didn't understand that when maybe they thought, okay, the smoke monster brings dead people back, but those dead people are the people they appear to be. They're not Smokey in disguise. Maybe that was the misstep they had.
Mm. Yeah,
So maybe
okay.
that's why they thought they could be judged. Like they knew
Yeah,
Smokey was doing it, but they thought, well, if I see my mom, that's really my mom.
right.
It's not Smokey trying to pretend to be my mom to get me to do something.
Right. I see what you're saying. And I think that's plausible, but then I hate to do this, but then you have Dogen who says to Saeed when he's sending him out to talk to the Man in Black, he's like, he will come to you as someone you know, someone who died, you
Hmm.
know? And
Yeah.
okay, now perhaps this is information that he was told very recently, maybe like a week ago. Jacob was like, "Oh, by the way, Dogen, Smoke Monster tends to appear as dead people. This you might want to know that
That
for the
yeah.
upcoming weeks." But like the fact that Dogen knows that, again, puts it in the hands of random other. I mean, he's important, but like it makes you wonder, why don't more of them know or suspect or seem to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
have any suspicions, really.
Yeah.
That they should always be especially if someone shows up and is like, yeah, I was dead and now I'm alive again. Like,
Yeah. That's suspicious.
it's very suspicious. If you're gonna say that, uh, uh, you really need to, I don't know, you really need to follow through, especially when you know that this is like Jacob's ultimate enemy.
Yeah.
If you're the others, you should be,
You should know who you're fighting. Yeah.
exactly. It should be important to you, like, what this guy's doing,
Yeah.
you know? And so if you know he takes the form of dead people, then when someone shows up and it's like, yeah, I was dead and now I'm alive again, it should be like, yeah, okay, that's a little bit of a red flag.
Well, if the others really cared about Jacob and winning this war, quote unquote war, whatever's going on here, this battle, they should have tried to like lure Smokey into the into the Dharma. I mean, yeah, the Dharma barracks area behind the fence, and then activate the fence and trap
Throw the
him there
sonic
for all
fence.
time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
trap him there, and then boom, he can't go anywhere.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
It's
they
like,
should have
hey,
done that.
hey, Jacob, we just trapped your mortal enemy who can
Yeah,
heal. Do we do good?
yeah, yeah. And I feel like Jacob should have been more impressed. I don't know if there was ever any chance for him to comment on that, but like the fact that Dharma invented a fence that
Yeah,
like repels his magic creature that emanates from the ultimate power source on the island, brother. Like, I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still kind of amazed that he can't just fly through that thing.
Mhm. Or over it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like, oh no, that fence is here. Well, nothing
Mhm.
I can do.
Ha.
I'm powerless now.
Yeah. Or maybe the
Yeah.
fence didn't work and he just pretended it worked.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. That sounds like him. Or maybe he just believed the fence would work.
Exactly. He thought it would work, so it worked, even though it didn't work. Yeah. Either one's true.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Well, overall, a really good episode. I think I think it's about on par with Every Man for Himself, but having Smoke Monster, having Echo, having all this other stuff gives it that extra star.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the flashback was a bit more dramatic. It wasn't the best flashback ever, but I think Sawyer's was just particularly boring.
Mhm.
And in this one at least like things happened.
Yeah.
Um and it wasn't like exactly a story we've seen before. It was a little bit of like, okay, we see Echo like trying to be a priest like right after the big scene where
Yeah.
he's mistaken for the priest. I think that's like kind of interesting, and it pretty much works, and it's pretty short. I think the on island stuff is definitely better. Yeah, the smoke monster. I love Yemi in this episode. I think that actor does a really good job.
Mhm.
That weird, ambiguous creepiness.
Yeah. Yeah. I met
Uh,
him once at a party,
yeah, I
and
remember that.
did not talk to him at all about Lost. I didn't
I
want to be
think
a Lost
it's
fanboy.
I can understand how that would happen. That I would probably do the same thing, but I think it's really cool for him, and just in general that he gets to play the ultimate villain.
Yeah.
It's one of the things about having a shape-shifting bad guy that like multiple actors get to play him.
Yeah. And I'm sure
You
he had
know?
no idea what he was playing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of course. I'm sure he just did what the script said.
Yeah.
And it was enough. But I think he does a good job. Like I'm really impressed at watching him when Echo's confessing, and like the way he looks at him. It's really ambiguous what he's thinking.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm not 100% sure. I mean, okay, I have a good idea, but I'm not 100% sure what he thinks about this. Like, is he really surprised? Is he just disappointed? Like, I'm not really sure how to read it.
Yeah.
Um, and I really like that. It's Echo's doing most of the work in that scene, but I think he's got a good presence.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and so that stuff is really cool. It's a big reveal. I like also the Pearl Station.
Yeah.
Nikki and Paulo aside, way
They should have just stayed back. But again, this is still Carlton and Damon trying to give what they think fans want, which is the red shirts on a mission. But
yeah.
I think Saeed could have figured out when he's
Mhm.
looking at the wires, saying, "Hey,
Yep.
there's some wires going to these other TVs. What if I jiggle this thing? And oh, look, we can get a reception on this." Like, you know, it didn't take Nikki figuring that out. Like, they had Saeed there. He was already in the wiring and stuff. Like, they could have figured. They could have had that same scene without Nikki and Paulo. Paulo did nothing. So
But yeah, exactly. I mean,
he didn't even watch the video. I mean, this is like
right,
one of the big questions about what's going on this island. What are these stations? He didn't even care to watch the video.
right, right,
Unless we're supposed to think they all watched it once, because like Saeed didn't really pay attention either, or it didn't
right.
seem like and Desmond. But so I don't know. Maybe Nikki was rewatching it or something. But
Yeah, I
it was
think
just
maybe we're
weird.
supposed to believe that,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, we know Paulo's in there getting the diamonds,
Ah, that's
so
right. The diamonds.
yeah. So like that.
Oh, yeah, they're hiding the fact that they found this station already.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, they were down there. They overhear Ben and Juliet talking. Again, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, like they overhear major plot points.
Yeah, I feel like it's just one step from cutting to like Jacob and Man in Black talking, about what the island is and the whole wine metaphor, the wine bottle metaphor, and then like Nikki and Paolo are peeking behind the bushes 2,000 years before they were born. Like, yeah, we're here too.
It really is like that. I understand the idea of kind of like we don't know these characters, and like by having Nikki figure something out, it's maybe supposed to make them more interesting or make us care more. It's like it
Yeah.
gives them something to do that like we'll care about because we want to know like what she's talking about.
Mhm.
But what bothers me is they built her up by tearing down our characters.
Fuck, yeah.
You know, like I feel like I wish she could have figured it out without having to like have Locke like, well, now I feel
I
stupid, you
think I
know?
think it's like it's kind of okay that it's one thing to have her figured out, but it's the worst part is Locke going, oh
Yeah.
doy, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly,
Like that,
exactly.
we didn't need, if Locke was like, wow, glad we brought you, fine,
Yeah,
cool. That
yeah,
justifies his decision to invite other people. It makes him seem like though, he's smart enough to do that. It didn't make it seem like he just overlooked something, you know,
yeah,
because he got what he needed when he was there the first time. Like, it
right.
didn't seem like there was anything left to do. So when she brings this up, it's like, oh, okay, I understand if there's, some other things we could have explored here. But yeah, for him to go, oh no, I feel stupid. It's like, yeah, you
Hmm.
are stupid.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you just got shown up by like one of the worst characters in the show's history. And it's just, I mean, maybe for Locke that's appropriate, but it's not fun to watch as a viewer.
Not at all.
Um, but I like the idea of like let's revisit this location, let's find something new there,
Yeah.
like that. I think that's cool, and the Mikhail reveal like is great.
One-eyed guy. Yeah, that's intense.
I'm intrigued, like I want to see that,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the B plot here.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's the C plot. I don't know. I don't know where like Jack stuff like stands in relation to this.
Yeah, that's,
But
yeah, I guess that's a C plot.
but it's not the main plot, you know.
Mm.
And yet it's
Or
still
maybe
good.
Jax
So
is the C plot.
yeah, it could be. It could be. It's one or the other. I mean, Echo's the main thing here,
Yeah.
but yeah, then after that it's those two. But they're all like quite good. Like none of them is a waste of time. And as we mentioned, the Juliet scene is like one of the greatest scenes in Lost.
Yeah.
So I think this episode is just packed with good stuff. I
There's a
mean,
lot, yeah. And we didn't even know how much, really what Juliet stood with Ben, so the fact
mhm.
that she's like, okay, I want you to kill him.
Yeah. No, it's a big step. I mean, I think they kind of implied with the book club thing like a little bit of tension between
Yeah.
them. But that's a long way away from like, okay, Jack, can you kill him and make it look like an accident? Because
Hmm.
we're not really happy with him as a leader, you
Yeah.
know? And I wonder, because I think we never really find this out because of the way this thing plays out. Like, how many people, like, is Juliet just doing this on a, I mean, she says like some of us want to change. Like, is she really representing like a lot of people, or is she just saying that and it's just her? Like, I just kind of wonder how many others would want to kill Ben besides her?
Well, I think there's other people who want to change in leadership, but I think she's the only one who has this idea to kill him during the surgery.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's how I would put it is she knows other people are upset, other people who had wanted to leave over the years and can't, he won't let them, but it's her idea to do it during this to kill him off during the surgery, and I don't think she would tell anybody else. She probably wouldn't be able to trust anybody else
Right.
with this plan.
Right. But but you think there's a decent number of others who, even if they won't like discuss openly like murdering Ben, will be fine with the result of him being murdered.
Well, with the result of him dying, yes.
But will they be okay? Would they be okay if they knew that Juliet had him killed?
I don't know. I think that's
Or that is just a different
uh,
question.
Yeah, I think that's a different question. Like, I think if they're like, oh, Ben died during, I mean, that's why she wants it. That's why she doesn't just take a knife and kill him. That's why she just doesn't, because if she really had that kind of support, where he was that kind of dictator, where if he was real, if somebody could just openly murder him, and the group would not, she wouldn't have any ramifications from the group, then she would do that, I think.
Mhm.
But, or push him off a cliff or something. Ben, I got something to show you, you
Mhm.
know. But she needs it to look like an accident, I think, because Pickett and other people, Tom, like
Mhm.
they are not the other kind of higher elders in the group, or in the sheriff.
Right.
Um,
Oh God.
yeah, I don't think they want Ben murdered, but I think if Ben died during surgery and it looked like an accident, I think they would, oh, sad. Okay, who's the new leader?
Right. Right. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. I honestly feel out of touch with the internal others' politics and how they're swinging, you know?
Mhm.
And I can't really tell how much this is just Juliet and how much this is the group, you know?
Mhm.
Because, like, we only know so many of them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I
I just
guess,
have to imagine he's keeping more than just her there against their will.
mhm.
But it's really hard to know without knowing each character's personal backstory.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just makes me wonder because, she sort of raises the issue.
Hmm.
Um, uh,
It also, I don't think we ever mentioned this, I guess because largely how it plays out, but it really calls into question, what is the leader of the others and the role, because if Ben could just be replaced, then that really says something about the leader of the others.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think uh yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know, it seems like the leader of the others is just a kind of, I don't know, like not even a formal thing.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just like whoever is in charge is the
Like,
leader.
for instance, if she thought Jacob ordained Ben to be the leader, she probably wouldn't want Ben to not be the leader if she believed on all that. You know what I mean? But if it's like Ben just stole power and he's got no claim to be the leader, then yeah, kill him off if you can.
Right, right, right. But I guess, yeah, like if enough people will follow you, then you're the leader, whether you got it, legitimately or not. I mean, so like before Ben, there was so like I guess Eloise was the leader for a while, and then she was pregnant, and so I guess she left, and then Widmore was the leader. Um, I presume that transition of power was peaceful,
Hmm.
um, since they had the baby together. Um, but then Ben gets Widmore banned,
Yeah.
by like I guess spying on him and collecting information, finding out that he, had a baby with an outsider, and he was leaving the island too much or something, and like spread some discontent about him among
Yeah.
the others. And I mean, once he gets kicked out, once he gets Widmore kicked out, I guess he becomes leader by default or something because he was the one, or he just assumes it and they accept it. Like they don't really show
Yeah,
how that
and that
works.
goes into part of the problem of the others will just follow anybody. They don't actually really
Mhm.
care. They're not that invested. There's no Bible for them to follow of the rules and the mythology. It's really weak. Like
Yeah.
their allegiance to Jacob, and what that really means. If somebody shows up and says, "Hey, I'm representing Jacob," oh, cool, okay, cool, we'll follow
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, why
They
not?
don't actually have to prove it.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem is that, yeah, the others are this disparate group. I mean, they're not, first of all, they're not that old. Like they haven't existed for that long. That's
Hmm.
something we don't really know. And that's another reason why the culture stuff feels a bit off to me. They've only been around within the last 150 years roughly, you
Hmm.
know, which isn't very old for a group of people. Um, I mean, at most, that's being generous. And they're just, random people from around the world that Jacob brings to the island,
Yeah.
and then they have to like come in and like because Jacob is
Maybe
Mr.
you bring up an interesting point. Maybe that's where they got the Viking funeral from. Like one of the others at some point was from the Nordic region and instituted this policy of we'll start burying people this way, and so it just became a tradition.
That's a damn good theory. I did not think of that. Interesting.
Yeah, I just realized, well, if they're getting people from around the world, then they're going to get those people's culture, and if they're left
Mhm.
to their own devices, they're going to run with their culture. So maybe,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe one of the leaders one time was a Viking guy, or
Yeah.
not a Viking guy, not from the Middle
Yeah.
Ages or whatever, but from that culture.
Yeah, would think of adopting that as a way to deal with dead people in a kind of primitive context,
Yeah,
you know. Um yeah, that makes a lot
and
of
it's
sense
it's not
actually.
just for show.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that I mean that just makes me and this kind of that goes with the idea that there isn't an others culture. It's just it's just the mix of whoever the individuals are that happen to be in the others at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
And we see them kidnapping people, they grab Cindy, like who's Cindy? Like, like or Zach and Emma, like how much are they really like gonna have like some crazy cultural beliefs like
Yeah, and that goes again back to the allegiance to Jacob. Is you if you get these random people and people come to the island, the others kill some of them, the others conscript some of them. Yeah, how much are they really going to believe in Jacob? They've never seen Jacob. Jacob doesn't come to
mhm
them. They might not even, it might be a long time before they hear or even realize Richard doesn't age.
yeah
So there's no magic or metaphysical uh experience that they have where they need to believe in Jacob. So that actually goes again to like why they're so wishy-washy is there is no hard fast doctrine set up.
yeah
It is just who's ever the leader gets to decide what they do. They never meet Jacob. If you just, you're Cindy, you're Zach and Emma. I mean, it's gonna be a while before Zach and Emma and Cindy like pledge allegiance to Jacob, even if they're with the others. You know what I mean? Because Jacob is just an idea that the other others talk about.
yeah
You know what I mean? But there's no intrinsic reason for them to believe it, and unless they saw something.
right right yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean there's the temple, the pool, the healing thing. Like I think that's the other sort of supernatural thing that they have. um
But how
but
often does that get used?
yeah, probably not that often. I think your general point is correct. And
I don't know if I thought about that before. Maybe I have. It's been 500 and something hours, so.
And
But
I guess that's part of the problem. I sort of like the others better when they're this secretive group that's like super loyal and super committed.
yeah,
You
that's the
know?
problem is their commitment. They don't really have it.
Yeah. I was like some of them are. Like there's a few that are,
Yeah,
but the group as a whole doesn't.
yeah.
And yeah, it's just kind of disappointing. But they do consistently depict them that way, so
Yeah, and I'm sure there's talk, like Ben kind of maybe he was not really he's talking about himself, but maybe there's stories about Jacob and he's a great man.
mhm.
And all this. So maybe they have stories and lore to kind of get people in line, but yeah, there's no yeah, the commitment was always was very shaky, which was kind of strange. You know, and they're again, like when Ben decides to move to the barracks, it's like, yeah, we'll move to the barracks. It's not like, no, this is against doctrine.
Right.
It's just like, oh, okay, well, we're this now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doctrine because yeah, Jacob doesn't get involved. he meets with Richard and he gives him lists. That's I think that's all they really know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes Richard comes back and he's got a
It's
list,
got a
and
list.
it's a list from Jacob, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Wait, a lisp? No, a list. A list? No, a list. Jacob's list, not lisp. Who's up first?
We worship someone with a lisp?
A lisp? Oh, let's call the whole thing off.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but I mean I guess there's a logic there in terms of the origin of them and how they're put together and how they're just supposed to live their lives, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Like how they could be how they are, you know.
And again, I kind of feel guilty going back to this well because it's just the refrain that we will keep doing forever till the end of the podcast. But again, it's about their interpretation.
Mhm.
The others believe in Jacob to the degree they choose to believe in Jacob. So,
Yeah.
and to the degree they see something and place meaning on it, and then behave based on that meaning, and there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, ultimately
So,
you're
like,
right.
they're not exempt. They're not exempt from that. They're part of this example too.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, at this part of the show, like they feel like they're a little bit above it because they seem to be in the know on all these things. But
Yep.
I think the thing we gradually realize is that they're pretty much just as lost as
No one's
everyone
in the
else is.
No one's in the know. That's the
Yeah,
secret.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
There are levels of being not in the know,
Yeah.
but those levels never get to in the know.
There's degrees away from the truth, but no
Yeah,
one's standing in the truth. Like there's just degrees away from it. You could be closer or further away, but you're
yeah.
not. Nobody's really there.
Yeah, and the others are not particularly closer than anyone else
Yeah,
is.
just because they've been there longer, just because they have a connection to Jacob, doesn't mean they really know anything more. I mean, could you imagine saying that like 8 years ago? Like, I bet the
No,
others don't really even know what Jacob's about. Like, I bet they don't even really believe in him that much.
that sounds crazy. You're out of your mind.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been a talk about a crackpot theory.
I was gonna say, is that your crackpot theory of the week?
Yeah, the week of October 2007.
Because yeah, it didn't. I certainly didn't believe it at the time. I mean, I bought into the mystique of the others, and uh, they they convinced me even through this period where they're being like really boring. you
Mhm.
know Somehow I hung on, and I really think they strung me along. I mean, they had Richard, which I think helps. Like Richard, the non-agent guy, like that makes them seem supernatural. And
Yeah,
then they had uh the cabin, you know?
yeah.
And because when Ben brings it to the cabin and all that weird shit happens, it's like, okay, well, there is a Jacob and he's this supernatural thing, and that's fucking crazy. So, I mean, there must be something weird going on with these others, or they wouldn't
Mhm.
have access to crazy cabin spirit Jacob guy,
Cabin spirit Jacob guy.
Cabin spirit Jacob guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like it was that stuff that sort of strung me along into thinking that even though the standard others are just kind of regular people, there is still something supernatural at the core of this group.
Mhm.
And we're going to uncover what that is, and then we're going to know everything.
Then we'll know everything. The end.
But yeah, obviously since I brought up the cabin, like that was a false hope.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's like a murder mystery where not even the murderer knows how the murder
Mm-hmm.
happened.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
detective figures out who the murderer is, and the murderer's like, I don't know who killed the person. I'm trying to figure it out too. Like your guess is good. Let's investigate together. And then the victim's like, I'm dead. What? I didn't even know I was dead.
I don't feel dead.
I interpreted it that I was murdered, but maybe I wasn't murdered.
Yeah,
Maybe it was just
yeah,
the meaning that I placed on this knife in my chest.
yeah. Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah, that's a sketch.
Terrifying. It is. It is.
Who killed? Yeah, who killed Bob? Nobody. That's the answer.
Bob was never even dead.
There is no Bob.
Who's Bob? Who told you there's a Bob? You just think there's a
You
Bob.
just thought there was a Bob because we said in the title who killed Bob, but there actually was no Bob.
There's never been a Bob.
No. Don't blame us for thinking there was a Bob. We just put in the title. Not our fault you thought that.
Why are you blaming us for what you thought?
Yeah, I love their indignation about leading us to something and going, I didn't lead you there.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
what? Who was I following? You were the one leading. We were following you. Damn it.
There's a scene like that. There's a scene like that later on in the show, and I've just now realized that how classic that scene is.
Yeah,
It's
what scene is that?
it's with uh with Locke, Ben, and Jacob. Sorry, Locke, Locke, Ben, and Hurley.
Okay, that's good.
He does become Jacob,
Yeah,
but
look at that.
that's my excuse. Anyway, when they're going to the cabin and uh, there's this point where Ben and Hurley like Hurley's like uh where do we go next, and Ben's like, I was following you.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I was following you. Yeah.
They don't even know who's following who.
Yep. Classic.
And it's like that's the thing you're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like no one's in charge and yet they're moving somehow.
Yeah, they've been walking like we've just walked 100 miles, and you're telling me nobody was leading.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they both think they're following someone else. It's
Yeah.
like no one is actually determining where they're going and yet they're moving.
Yeah. I mean, that's lost in a nutshell. Yeah, there it is.
Exactly, yeah. And I always thought that was just kind of a funny, weird scene, but like
Hmm.
I never realized how much it hits that core idea.
Yeah. That's a question we should ask Carlton and Damon
Yeah. Yeah,
if that scene is a metaphor for the show.
yeah.
That's a question they haven't been asked before, I'm
It's
sure.
an excellent idea. And yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's
We have to have one question with the cabin. I want to figure out how to do it where we're not asking for answers. But
mhm.
I can't get Damon and Carlton on the line and not ask them something about the cabin.
I feel like yeah, that should just be you should just go, okay guys, next question. The cabin and just that's it. That's all you just say is just the cabin. And just sit back and wait.
See what they say.
See what they say. Go, the cabin.
The cabin. 2 words.
Yeah. Is it 2 words? Oh,
Is
I was thinking
it
cabin. I was like, cabin's not 2 words.
cabin? 2 words, right,
Two
guys?
words.
Cab in.
Cabin. Words are syllables.
Both? I don't know.
Uh,
Neither?
all right. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Uh, no, I think that's good. It was good. It was a good episode.
All right.
Very, very. well put together, a lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of big topics, kind of buried in here, just sort of stuck at the beginning of season 3, and
Hmm.
it walks in like it's not supposed to be that important, and then like a lot of shit happens.
Yeah, yeah. The cost of. So what's the title about?
It's a good
We
question.
used to talk about the title all the time in the original run of the podcast.
Um, yeah, I feel like their titles got a bit more obvious later.
Mm.
Where it was sort of clear what the meaning was, and so we stopped discussing it. But yeah, here I don't really know. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's about Echo,
Is
and he
it
had to
is it
pay
the
the cost of living because he talked about how his life was, he didn't ask for his life, but
okay? That was the cost of living is the bad things you're forced to do
yeah,
that depending on your life. Okay, I can see that.
that would be my stab at it.
Okay, the cost of living. All right.
It's a strange title, though, I have to say.
Yeah, this is the cost of living. Yeah, the built up regret and guilt that you might have. Yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah,
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be
yeah.
back with I Do.
I do. Can't wait for with TV's Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, he's all over TV.
He's got a show, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's still on Castle.
Castle, that's what it's
I think
called.
I think Castle is still on. I don't know,
Yeah, I get.
but he will always be in Firefly, which never dies.
That's true.
You know what they say about Fireflies?
Uh, they never die.
They never. There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
We didn't even rehearse that.
I
So
mean, I
no one
just
should
repeated
tell.
what you said. Um, but it seemed like that's what I should have said, and it worked.
Yay!
Yay!
All right. Until next time. Thanks and namaste.
Okay, namaste and good luck.